Chapter 3074. After that, Knight Sorrow let Little 7 and Little 9 communicate. He listened from the side and heard a lot of things about the foggy area. And some information about the other parts of the Eternal Divine Tower. Little 9 knew the whereabouts of the 3rd and 5th floors. They had fallen into the hands of the two Earth sovereigns in the foggy area. Little 9 had tried to rescue them but failed. Moreover, the 3rd and 5th floors had become extremely evil. After talking to Little 7 about this, Little 9 begged Knight Sorrow, "Knight Sorrow. Little 7 and I are willing to serve you. Please bring the essence of the 3rd and 5th floors over. Don't worry. After 100 years, I will go to the foggy area to cultivate. At that time, I will do my best to help you. I will strive to merge the Eternal Divine Tower as soon as possible." Knight Sorrow looked at Little 7 and Little 9 and promised them. At this time, Little 7 said, "Actually, if you can merge the Eternal Divine Tower again, it will be very good. It will also be good for you. Because a complete Eternal Divine Tower is a rare ultimate divine artifact in the world. If a great calamity really comes, it will play a very important role." Little 7 had not seriously said these words to Knight Sorrow in the past. But this time, Knight Sorrow had purified Little 9, allowing him to see hope. "I will do my best. You two catch up first. I have some things to discuss with my friends." While saying this, Knight Sorrow saw Thousand Sword Sect stand up, so he walked over and asked, "Brother Thousand, how do you feel?" "I have basically recovered, but there is an aura of death around the wound. It is hard to erase. I am afraid this will be a big problem." Thousand Sword Sect took off his robe and revealed his chest. There was a wound on his chest that was cut by sword energy, and there was an aura of death suffused with black gas. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe this aura of death. Knight Sorrow frowned. "This should be something from the foggy area. I can feel it from the aura. It seems that the few half-step Earth sovereigns who injured you are very likely to have been to the foggy area. They might even have infiltrated our eternal sovereign world from the foggy area." "What?" "It's actually related to the fog." Upon hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Master Wan Jian's expression turned ugly. In the beginning, he didn't realize how powerful the death chi was. In the process of healing, he realized that it was very difficult to resolve. "It's all right. I should be able to purify the aura of death. Come, let us give it a try." After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, he took out the white jade and began to purify the 10,000 Sword Sect with the power of virtue. In just a few moments, the black gas lingering around Master Wan Jian's wound was completely dispelled. "It's really possible. Brother Yi, you really are a man of great fortune. To actually be able to grasp such a heaven-defying technique." The 10,000 Sword Sect was in a wonderful mood now that their chronic illness had been cured. Then he said, "If I'm like this, I'm afraid others are like this as well. Brother Yi, let's treat them one by one." "All right." Knight Sorrow nodded. After that, they went to look for the people from the God world. He helped them get rid of their chronic diseases. When he was treating Jing Yun, it was very charming. The process could not be told to outsiders. After everyone had recovered, Knight Sorrow did not immediately mention the matter of rescuing the two Vice City Lords. Instead, he let everyone absorb the resources to advance to the sovereign level. About 3 years later, with Yang Qing's successful advancement, the people from the God world had all advanced to the sovereign level. At this time, Knight Sorrow gathered everyone together and said, "Now, we have successfully completed the first small goal. It's time to rescue the two Vice City Lords." "Yes. What should we do?" After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian asked. Rescuing the two Vice City Lords was like looking for a needle in a haystack. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow said, "The two Vice City Lords should not be in the three grotto heavens. Although there are more targets in the 3,000 grotto heavens, we can try one by one. Now that I can erupt with an Earth Sovereign level attack, the small grotto heavens can't trap us. Knight Sorrow said and talked about the cooperation with the 9 Xian territory and the grotto heavens. This matter had a great impact on everyone. They were surprised that Feng Wuji of the 9 Xian territory would be so generous to give an entire grotto heaven to the god world. Knight Sorrow could not mention the supreme longevity, so he did not explain. So, he talked about the calamity and told everyone that he was called the Eternal Supreme World Son of Destiny by Feng Wuji. That was why he was taken care of. In the hearts of the people of the god world, Knight Sorrow was originally a person who gathered destiny and fate. This matter was over just like that. Alright. Let's go, we will enter the 3,000 grotto heavens one by one. Everyone be careful, there might be a battle. But in order to save people, this is unavoidable. Now that Knight Sorrow had the strength of an Earth Sovereign, he could break through the defenses of the 3,000 grotto heavens. Many of these grotto heavens were ownerless. For such grotto heavens, after Knight Sorrow broke through, the people of the god world would naturally recognize him as their master. And if there was a master, they would basically encounter a battle. Now, Knight Sorrow and the many sovereigns of the god world were all existences in the grotto heavens. Moreover, the god world was now in an alliance with the 9 Xian territory and Life Extension territory. They were still enemies with the other territories, so they did not care who the other party was and continued to attack. It took about 10 years. They had successfully swept through 107 grotto heavens and occupied all of them. After discovering that the people of the god world had swept through the grotto heavens, the masters of the other grotto heavens moved out to discuss the matter of alliance, preparing to attack the people of the god world together. Just as they were discussing the matter of alliance, Knight Sorrow finally found the 2 Vice City Lords in the 108th grotto heaven. There were only 2 people in the 108th grotto heaven. They were the first and second Vice City Lords of the god world city. Both of them were imprisoned on wooden stakes in the grotto heaven. Their bodies were thin and their spirits were low. They did not even look like cultivators anymore. Are you the first and second Vice City Lords of the god world city? The 2 of them looked very similar to the first and second Vice City Lords, but Yi Shang still asked a question. Who are you? The first Vice City Lord opened his eyes with difficulty and said in a hoarse voice. My name is Knight Sorrow, a descendant of the god world city. They are the same as me. Everyone is here to rescue you. Knight Sorrow said and condensed his divine origin force to remove the ropes on the 2 Vice City Lords. In fact, he had already used the sea serpent's eye to observe the 2 of them. There was no problem with their identities. Not good. Things are difficult. There is something wrong with the ropes. The moment Knight Sorrow removed the ropes, the 2 Vice City Lords' faces changed completely. What's wrong with the ropes? Hearing this, Jingyun asked curiously. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human Mobile Version Reading Website. Chapter 3075. Once this rope is touched, it will immediately be known to the people who imprisoned me. They are very strong and not someone an Earth Sovereign can fight against. Let's go quickly. Oh. How many people are there? Could it be the strength of an Earth Sovereign? Knight Sorrow asked doubtfully. According to his idea, they should wait for the enemy to arrive and take revenge for the 2 Deputy City Lords. At this time, the first Deputy City Lord said in horror, there are at least 5 of them. Although they are not Earth Sovereigns, they should have the strength of an Earth Sovereign. It's very scary. The second Deputy City Lord urged, let's go. Let's leave this place immediately, there might still be a chance. The 2 Deputy City Lords were obviously very afraid of those enemies. Knight Sorrow could even hear the fear in their voices. Originally, he wanted to ask what the other party had done to them. He could only feel that the two of them were very weak at this time. But before he could speak, 5 black-robed people descended into the small grotto heaven. Hee. I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. Your injuries have healed very quickly. Last time, I let you escape. This time, all of you will be left behind to become our nourishment. One of the black-robed people had just descended when he said this in a playful tone. It's the 3 of you. Jing Yun immediately said coldly after scanning the few people in front of her with her divine soul power. 3 of the 5 people in front of her were the ones who had injured them. Are they the ones who injured you? Their aura is indeed extraordinary. However, they are all trash from the fog region. Night Sorrow observed the 5 of them with the sea serpent's eye and immediately realized that they were extraordinary. And he could also see that there was an obvious aura of death and slaughter on them. This aura was purified by him for little 9. Obviously, they were all from the fog region. What? They are all creatures from the fog region. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the faces of the 2 deputy city lords became gloomier and gloomier. The rest of the people in the realm of gods were all alert. Hee. You have actually discovered the secret. It seems that even if we want to continue to keep you as nourishment, it is impossible. The only female cultivator sinisterly said and then ordered, kill them all. Originally, they had imprisoned the 2 vice city lords so that they could absorb the blood chi from their bodies regularly to cover up their own murderous aura. At this time, their identities were exposed, they immediately wanted to kill them. If you want to kill us all, let's see if you have the ability. Facing the 5 people in front of him, Night Sorrow said coldly. At the same time, he took the 2 deputy city lords who were in poor physical condition and could not participate in the battle into the space grotto heaven. He turned to the others in the god world and said, as the saying goes, revenge doesn't wait overnight. Now, the opportunity. Good. Take revenge immediately. At the same time, Thousand Sword Master Xiao Tianxian transmitted his voice to Yishan, when the battle starts, try your best to leave them alive. It's no small matter that people from the fog zone have infiltrated my eternal sovereign world. Night Sorrow responded, took out the golden heavenly halberd, and attacked the only female cultivator present. It was obvious that the others listened to her orders. A mere lower supremacy dares to behave atrociously in front of me. Die! 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 The female cultivator, whose voice was originally normal, immediately became hoarse after the battle began. The killing intent in her words was simply through the sky. As for Yishang, when he used the sea serpent's eye to take a look, he discovered that the rather delicate face that was covered had already turned into something that was neither human nor ghost. It looked like a zombie that had lived for countless years. I'll leave the others to you. I'll take down this female cultivator and then help you. Night Sorrow, facing this evil female cultivator, explained to the people in the realm of gods. He directly shot the eternal life amplification spear at her. This move was not Night Sorrow's strongest killing move. At this time, it was also a test. Your move is only a so-so. Facing Night Sorrow's eternal life amplification spear, the female cultivator took out a slender needle that looked like a short sword from her ear. This needle was black. After taking it out, the female cultivator threw it out and shot it at Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. She was obviously not stopped by the eternal life amplification spear. You have some ability. The female cultivator was not affected by the eternal life amplification spear. This was something that Night Sorrow had thought of. Then, he took out the fire beacon smoke diagram and threw it into the void. Then, he used the 33 Heavens battle secret technique to raise his strength to the maximum. After the flying needle shot by the female cultivator was sent flying, Night Sorrow shot the divine finger at her. Found it. Seeing the divine finger, the female cultivator immediately roared. It was as if she had seen a treasure. Found it. Are they looking for the divine finger? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow was a little surprised. However, he naturally would not relax his attack. Facing this attack, the female cultivator did not dare to continue to be careless. She used her movement technique and wanted to dodge. However, Knight Sorrow's divine finger was not the same as the ordinary divine finger. In the attack, it had the effect of tracking. The female cultivator thought that she had dodged it, but she was still hit. The attack power of the divine finger was extremely powerful. After being hit by it, half of the female cultivator's arm was directly shattered. It is indeed powerful. It can be confirmed that one of our 2 goals has been achieved. The female cultivator who had half of her arm shattered did not care about the pain at all. Instead, she laughed. The other black-robed men who were fighting with the people of the Divine World territory were also very excited. It was as if they had found a treasure. Regarding this, the people of the Divine World territory were somewhat puzzled. However, under such circumstances, they naturally did not have the mood to think about this. They thought that they could just capture the person and ask whatever they wanted. At this moment, the female cultivator's arm could be seen growing bit by bit. Soon, it was completely restored to its perfect state. She sneered at Knight Sorrow and said, "The ability of the fog area is far beyond your imagination. Wait to be captured." She, who originally wanted to kill Knight Sorrow and the others, had changed her mind. No matter what means you have, you can't escape from the eternal supreme world today. Facing the arrogant female cultivator, Knight Sorrow glanced at the others in the battle and found that after advancing to the supreme level, their fighting strength had increased a lot. At this point in the battle, they were only slightly suppressed. At this time, while Knight Sorrow continued to fight with the female cultivator, he summoned Little 7 and Little 9 and let them help the others fight. As for the restriction-breaking hammer, its strength was relatively weaker, so he did not summon it. Eternal Devil Tower. After seeing Little 7 and Little 9 appear, a surprised smile appeared on the female cultivator's face again. Obviously, she knew about the Eternal Divine Tower. It was just that the name was different. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human Mobile Version Reading Website. Chapter 3076. The Eternal Divine Tower is called the Eternal Demon Tower in the foggy area. Knight Sorrow murmured when he heard the masked female cultivator call it that. At the same time, he learned that the other parts of the Eternal Divine Tower should be very famous in the foggy area. This way, it would be easier to find. The bad part was that it would be difficult to snatch it back. Haha. This Eternal Demon Tower is something that a lord wants. Now, we have found 2 parts at once. How lucky! The masked female cultivator's voice was trembling. She was very excited. Obviously, the lord she was talking about had given a very generous reward. Ignorant. What reward can be more valuable than an ultimate divine weapon? Knight Sorrow disdainfully thought to himself, the masked female cultivator is like this. However, he was not in the mood to talk nonsense with her at this time. He used the Qingxian godly spear technique to close the distance between him and the female cultivator. Under the interference of the fire beacon smoke diagram, the female cultivator, who was not at an advantage in strength, was quickly suppressed by Knight Sorrow. In fact, the female cultivator had the ability to fight a lower earthly sovereign. However, Knight Sorrow had the ability to defeat a lower earthly sovereign. There was still a gap between the two. After Knight Sorrow attacked with all his strength, the female cultivator realized that things were not going well and did not dare to be delusional. She took out a black paper lamp from the space hollow. After the black paper lamp was summoned, it immediately emitted a strong murderous aura. The aura of death instantly covered the entire space hollow. Not good. This is the aura of the foggy area. In this environment, you can hold on, but we can't hold on for long. After the aura of the foggy area began to dissipate, Xiao Tianxian immediately said, "Then let's fight." Hearing this, Night Sorrow reactivated the Traystrumsa battle secret technique. At the same time, he burned the power of his bloodline. The battle intent on his body also reached its peak. Moreover, the power of merit surrounded his body. Under the protection of the white jade, he completely fought with the masked female cultivator. After Night Sorrow used all his means, the masked female cultivator suddenly realized that the aura of the foggy area in front of her had no effect on Night Sorrow at all. She cursed in her heart. At the same time, he thought of a terrifying problem. If Night Sorrow entered the foggy area, he could disguise himself as a creature of the foggy area and not be discovered. In reality, he would never be lost. "You guys, don't worry about the others. Kill this person with me." Thinking of this, the veiled female cultivator immediately called the others to help her. But, hearing this, the others did not come to their rescue at all. After all, they were already in a stalemate with Jing Yun and the others. The realm of the gods was no longer the same as it used to be. His combat prowess had increased by many times. Originally, they couldn't defeat 3 of them, but now they were able to fight 4 of them, and the tribe was at a disadvantage. "Captain Mo Shaw. We can't do anything about it." One of the cultivators who had gone to help the veiled female cultivator helplessly replied after a few attempts to break through the encirclement but to no avail. "What do I need you for?" Against Night Sorrow, who was nearly invulnerable, the masked female cultivator Mona had no chance of winning at all. She thought for a moment and immediately chose to leave the small grotto heaven. However, just as she left the small grotto heaven, Night Sorrow successfully broke through the barrier of the small grotto heaven and caught up to her. In the void, he started another great battle with her. Under Night Sorrow's fierce attacks, Mo Shaw lost all hope in a situation where she couldn't gain the upper hand in terms of strength, speed, technique, and aura. For a moment, she was thinking of how to perish together with Night Sorrow. If it was an ordinary person, she would choose to self-detonate into the fog and brainwash them. However, Night Sorrow was not afraid of the fog at all, which gave her a headache. "You dare to think nonsense while fighting with me? Die!" Soft dragon roar. Seeing that the veiled female cultivator was thinking, Night Sorrow immediately used his most proficient soul attack. This wasn't his most powerful spiritual attack, but it was the most convenient for him to use. Wang. After being roared by Night Sorrow, the veiled female cultivator felt her spirit sea tremble. While she was stunned for a moment, Night Sorrow used the godly spear and directly pierced her dantian. Although the creatures in the fog were corroded by the fog, they were basically the same as cultivators. With her dantian pierced, Mo Shaw immediately realized that the battle was over. However, at this time, she completely lost her ferocity and chose to self-detonate her soul. Without giving Night Sorrow a chance to react, she used the aura of her self-detonation to launch a final attack on Night Sorrow. However, Night Sorrow, who was prepared, would not give her any chance to hurt herself. The moment she chose to self-detonate, she had already used Mysterious Sky's secret shadow and successfully hid in the void. When Night Sorrow reappeared, he found a black crystal floating at the spot where Mo Shaw had self-detonated. This crystal was very exquisite, but it exuded an extremely evil aura. There's something to be said, but now is not the time to study it. After putting away the black crystal, Night Sorrow returned to the small grotto heaven and cooperated with the others in the heavenly realm to fight the remaining 4 foggy cultivators. Not long after, 2 of them were killed. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at the 2 of them with killing intent and said, "I'll give you a chance. Tell me the purpose of your trip, and I'll let you live." "Humph. You underestimate the warriors of the fog too much." One of the male cultivators snorted disdainfully and chose to self-detonate. The nearest cultivator, Master Wan Jian, was directly sent flying, causing heavy damage. Yuan Fengxue immediately flew to his side and protected him. Knight Sorrow wanted to check on Master Wan Jian's injuries, but he resisted the urge to do so. Instead, he used the white jade and the power of virtue to purify the last foggy cultivator. He knew that cultivators who were corroded by the fog would not choose to compromise, so he chose another method. The eyes of this male cultivator, who was originally filled with only the desire to kill, quickly became blurred. "Brother Wan, how are your injuries?" When the male cultivator's eyes became blurred, Knight Sorrow immediately asked about Master Wan Jian's injuries. "I'm fine, I can still talk." Master Wan Jian, who was heavily injured, said. "It's good that you're fine." Knight Sorrow confirmed that Master Wan Jian was fine and continued to purify the male cultivator in front of him. As the purification went deeper, the black light in the male cultivator's eyes completely disappeared. What replaced it was a lake of clarity. "All right. You've been washed away from the fog's mark, it's time to return to normal." At this time, Knight Sorrow looked at the male cultivator in front of him and said. At this time, the male cultivator was obviously a little stunned, as if his thoughts were a little interrupted. Knight Sorrow asked, "You sneaked into the Eternal Supreme World from the fog, what do you want to do?" Chapter 3077. What is the purpose of sneaking into the Eternal Supreme World? I am a cultivator of the Eternal Supreme World. Hearing this, the male cultivator, who was already a little stunned, murmured in confusion. After a few breaths, he fell to the ground holding his head in pain. "What's going on?" Seeing the male cultivator fall to the ground in pain, Master Wan Jian asked in confusion. It should be that there are a lot of memories in his mind. He's digesting them. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and replied. The facts that followed also proved Knight Sorrow's words. The male cultivator fell to the ground to recover for about a quarter of an hour, and then slowly stood up. He looked at Knight Sorrow with a calm gaze and said, "I remember now. I remember everything." "Good. Tell me your story first. Then I'll ask you something." Knight Sorrow did not directly ask him the secret of coming to the Eternal Supreme World, but let him introduce himself first. They had a good idea. Sigh. What a long story. The male cultivator sighed and then said, "My name is Enchanting, and I'm not from the same era as you. Back then, when the great calamity came, the creatures of the fog suddenly attacked the Eternal Supreme World. In that battle, although we resisted under the leadership of Yen and Yen Hengshi, but in the end, we were defeated by the creatures of the fog. All of us were captured and brought to the fog. Then, the fog invaded our minds. We became their slaves." At this point, Chen Qingyun said in horror, "As for me coming to the Eternal Supreme World this time, I have two missions. The first is to find the person who knows the god's finger and eliminate him. The second is to find a stone coffin in the Eternal Supreme World. The other is that a new round of great calamity is about to come. The attack of the fog is coming again. This time, our Eternal Supreme World will probably be even more miserable than the last time. It's indeed more difficult to fight against. Because Yen Hengshi has fallen. It's difficult for us to fight against those three top existences." Knight Sorrow frowned and sighed. Then, he asked, "Chen Qingyun, do you know how long it will be before the fog attacks our Eternal Supreme World again?" "Not far. If there are no accidents, it will happen within 10,000 years. Chen Qingyun spoke out his judgment. This was a memory from the fog. 10,000 years is indeed a little short. Hearing the number 10,000, Knight Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. To be honest, he wanted to advance to the ultimate supremacy stage before the fog attacked the Eternal Supremacy World. Looking at it now, this was simply too difficult. Not to mention advancing to the ultimate sovereign stage, even advancing to the heavenly sovereign stage in 10,000 years was too short. Those existences are all recuperating. If nothing unexpected happens, they will recover within 10,000 years. Once it recovers, it will return to the eternal paragon world. Chen Qingyun recalled his experience in the misty area and said. However, he could only recall 3 invincible existences, but he could not recall their names. Let's not talk about that for now. Tell me about the fog zone. I heard that it's very easy to raise one's strength in the fog. Knight Sorrow's mind was firm. He knew that time was tight, but he was also very motivated. He no longer thought about the problem of time. Instead, he made up his mind to quickly enter the fog zone with Bai Mei Sanren once the matter in front of him was over. He would do everything possible to raise his strength as soon as possible. In the fog zone, there are indeed many ways to raise one's strength quickly. However, the faster one's strength increases, the stronger the murderous aura on one's body will be. In the end, they will become the slaves of several great demon kings. They can use the fog to control cultivators. Therefore, the Eternal Supremacy World cultivators who were captured and brought to the fog zone back then were all controlled by them and became loyal slaves. Chen Qingyun recalled some of the things that happened in the fog zone back then and slowly explained. Hearing him say this, Knight Sorrow understood that the fog zone was very special because of the environment. As long as the Eternal Supremacy World cultivators entered, they would quickly lose their minds. Basically, no cultivator could enter the depths of the fog zone. Therefore, they were not guarded against the Eternal Supremacy World cultivators at all. That's a good thing. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow nodded. He felt that this situation was very beneficial for him to sneak in. Then Chen Qingyun continued, although there are many resources in the fog zone, it is easy to increase one's strength. However, every resource will be accompanied by killing. In addition, although there are many resources to increase one's strength. However, the level one can advance to has a lot to do with one's talent. For example, I can only advance to half-step Earth Supremacy and can't advance any further. Speaking of this, Chen Qingyun sighed helplessly. Then, he looked at Knight Sorrow and said, there are still many things that I know. I will write these things in the ancient book. However, this ancient book cannot be spread out. Because the fog zone has sent a large number of cultivators to hide in the Eternal Supremacy world. If they find out that someone has been purified and restored in the fog zone, things will be very bad. Don't worry. We won't spread your matter. Since you are from the previous era, you should have nothing to do with the myriad worlds. Come back to the God realm with me. However, for safety reasons, you can only stay in my space grotto heaven. Knight Sorrow glanced at Chen Qingyun and felt that he was lucky and pitiful. Then, thank you for taking me in. Chen Qingyun said and continued to ask, since you have the ability to purify the fog. Are you going to go there to increase your strength? Of course I'm going. Otherwise, when the great calamity comes, if my strength is not enough, I can only be beaten. Yishang put Chen Qingyun into his heavenly abode. Then, together with the others from the God world, they hurried toward the passageway leading to the God world. Hearing that Knight Sorrow wanted to enter the fog zone, Chen Qingyun begged, my wife was also caught in the fog zone back then. If possible, can you take me there? And help me save my wife. I know a lot about the fog zone and can be your guide. Good. If I have the ability, I will save your wife for you. In the future, just call me Knight Sorrow. No matter what, you are my senior. Knight Sorrow replied and did not say anything else. His thoughts had already flown to the stone coffin that Chen Qingyun spoke of. He thought of the stone coffin in the forbidden area, but he was not sure if the two were the same thing. After thinking about it, he decided not to investigate. After that, Knight Sorrow and the others encountered many cultivators who were targeting them. These cultivators were no match for them when they met again. Soon, they were swept away by Night Sorrow and the others. After returning to the God realm, Night Sorrow began to worry. He was prepared to bring the people of the God realm into the grotto heaven to cultivate before entering the fog zone. However, he did not know who in the current God realm territory had already defected to other territories. Clan M. Chapter 3078. Brother Juan, Brother Jean, both of you are seniors in the God realm. Who do you think is more reliable in the current God realm? In the God realm, in Jing Yun's courtyard, Night Sorrow called everyone over and asked. At this moment, he had not released the two Vice City Lords. This was because he was not sure who could be trusted in the current God realm. Hearing this, Master Wan Jian thought for a moment and said, to be honest, who can be trusted in the current God realm? I don't dare to say a single person. I can't even guarantee that my uncle, White Tiger, is trustworthy. As for Jin Xian, he said, I can only guarantee that my grandfather is not a traitor. What about the rest of you? Night Sorrow looked at Yuan Fengshue, Yang Qing, and the rest and asked. Everyone started shaking their heads. At this moment, Night Sorrow said, the only people I can be sure of are you, Zhu Feng, and the two Vice City Lords. As for the rest, I can't guarantee anything. This way, it will be a problem who can enter the grotto heaven to cultivate. Night Sorrow did not know much about the two Vice City Lords, but since the Supreme Longevity said that they were fine, they must be fine. Actually, I think this problem is very easy to solve. At this moment, Xiao Tianxian looked at Night Sorrow and said, let those who enter the grotto heaven make a heavenly oath. They must never betray the God realm. That's it. If many people have betrayed the God realm, how can we solve this problem? After Xiao Tianxian finished speaking, Jing Yun said sharply. I think if they can turn over a new leaf, we should give them a chance. But this is the only chance in front of us. What do you think? Night Sorrow pondered for a moment and continued. Some time ago, the God realm experienced turmoil and people were uneasy. It was understandable for some people to seek refuge in other territories. Now that the God world was strong enough to hold its own in the eternal Paragon world, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to give them a chance to fight back. Then it's decided. I will go and find my grandfather. Otherwise, with just the few of us, we might not be enough. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Jin Xian went to Ping and City to invite the Golden Crow. The Myriad Sword sect went to look for the White Tiger sovereign to bring up this matter. Night Sorrow naturally chose to head to the City Lord Manor to look for the Ancestor Phoenix. He was prepared to tell him about the two Vice City Lords and discuss the cultivation of the Great Paradise. After arriving at the City Lord's mansion, Night Sorrow did not enter. Instead, he transmitted his voice to the Supreme Ancestor Phoenix in the inn in front of the mansion. Night Sorrow. You're back. Upon hearing Night Sorrow's voice transmission, the Supreme Phoenix Ancestor was extremely excited. That's right. Lord Ancestral Phoenix, I am in the restaurant opposite the City Lord's mansion. Please come over for a chat. Night Sorrow continued to send a voice transmission. He did not want to go to the City Lord's residence and alert the others. Good. I'm on my way. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix appeared in the inn in less than 10 breaths' time. Oh. Night Sorrow. I didn't expect you to have already become a Supreme in such a short period of time. Upon entering the inn and seeing that Night Sorrow's aura was already at the Supreme level, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor said excitedly. Back then, he had spent a considerable amount of time to become a Supreme, about 1,000,000 years or so. The current Night Sorrow had only used a few years to become a Supreme. The harvest this time is great. Not only have I become a Supreme, but Brother Xiao, Brother Wan, and the rest have also become Supreme. Night Sorrow said and recounted their experience in detail. Of course, he changed the excuse to the supreme longevity and said that he had chosen to cooperate with Feng Wuji. On the surface, the Divine World Territory had submitted to the Nine Profound Territory, but in reality, the Divine World Territory was still the Divine World Territory. This matter. Actually, there's nothing wrong with it. Don't talk about pretending to submit and obtain a great paradise. Even if we really submit and obtain a great paradise, it's not a loss for our Divine World Territory. After all, the gap between us and the powerful territories is too big. We need this great paradise to nurture talents. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor told him not to feel pressured. No matter what, the Divine World Territory did not lose out on this matter. At this moment, Night Sorrow said with a frown, "Senior. Don't worry, Night Sorrow will not let the Divine World Territory submit to anyone. In time, the Divine World Territory will become the king of all worlds. I am 1,000 times relieved and satisfied with you. You are the same as what Supreme Ancestor Horn said, the Divine World Territory's destiny child. I believe that one day, the Divine World Territory will be glorious because of you." Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor said with relief. Night Sorrow was a junior that he had personally guided, which made him feel very proud. Then, Night Sorrow summoned the 2 deputy city lords. He said, "Senior, look who this is." Oh. 2 deputy city lords. Why are you guys so weak? The 2 deputy city lords had already used the resources in Night Sorrow's great paradise to recover, but they were still in a sorry state. Seeing the 2 of them clearly, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor said with a trembling voice. "Sigh. It's a long story. If not for Night Sorrow, we would probably be imprisoned in the Great Paradise forever." The first deputy city lord said with emotion when he saw his old friend. "Senior Ancestor Phoenix, don't worry. Not only are the 2 deputy city lords fine, but they will also advance to Earth's sovereign soon. At that time, our Divine World Territory will have 2 Earth sovereigns. Ordinary territories will definitely not dare to deal with us." What? The 2 deputy city lords will both advance to Earth sovereign? What do you mean? Hearing this, the 2 deputy city lords were stunned, while Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor asked doubtfully. "I obtained a lot of resources in the Great and Great Paradises. These resources can allow the 2 deputy city lords to recover quickly and advance to Earth's sovereign. At that time, the 2 of them will be able to guard the Great Paradise." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he took out some heavenly sovereign rules and essences, as well as other spiritual pills, and handed them to the 2 deputy city lords. Then, he took out a lot of earthly sovereign rules and essences and handed them to Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor. "Senior, I hope you can advance to half-step Earth sovereign soon. When the time comes, I'll help you find resources to advance to the earthly sovereign level." Ha! Night Sorrow. I don't know what to say anymore. The Divine World Territory is so lucky to have you. When Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor heard Night Sorrow's words, he was in a good mood. After the Supreme Longevity, the Divine World Territory was finally going to have a new sovereign. He was really happy from the bottom of his heart. Take it slow. My Divine World Territory will eventually become the king of all realms. Night Sorrow said with a smile and began to discuss the Great Paradise with the 3 of them. When talking about the current situation of the Divine World Territory, everyone was a little angry, but there was no other way. At that time, the Divine World Territory was on the verge of destruction. In the end, the 3 of them decided to follow Night Sorrow's instructions. Of course, under their suggestion, the routine was changed a little. That was, not only did they have to make a heavenly oath to enter the Great Paradise, but as long as they stayed in the Divine World Territory, they had to do so. Chapter 3079. If we do this, will there be any opposition? Some people with pride will feel that this is being questioned. After the three of them finished speaking, Night Sorrow spoke. Some people were determined and felt that doing these things didn't matter. Some people, on the other hand, had fragile hearts. They were all cultivators, so there would definitely be some who were pretentious. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the first deputy city lord said, "No. We have set the requirement, which is for everyone to participate. No one can avoid it. Including you, including me. This way, there should be no opposition. If there is, then they are traitors. There's no need to be polite and directly eliminate them." As he spoke, he showed his decisiveness in doing things. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded and said, "Then let the first deputy city lord preside over it. With the two deputy city lords in charge, there should be no opposition. I'll gather everyone in the Divine Realm territory and gather them in the Divine Realm city." At this time, the second deputy city lord took out a shiny golden token and threw it above the void. When the deputy city lord token floated above the city lord mansion, it immediately bloomed with endless light. Soon, such light illuminated the entire Divine Realm territory. When the cultivators in the Divine Realm territory saw this scene, they immediately rushed to the Divine Realm city. Because the Divine Realm territory had been sealed for a long time, no one entered the supreme space at this time. Therefore, everyone in the Divine Realm territory returned to the Divine Realm city in a few days. When everyone arrived, the oath ceremony officially began. Just as Yi Shang and the others had expected, this suggestion was met with strong opposition. But these were all suppressed by the two deputy city lords and finally enforced. This forced some two-faced people into a desperate situation. A few of them had completely pledged loyalty to other territories and were completely exposed. Among them, including Supreme Ancestral Dragon, who was highly respected in the Divine Realm territory. It was very surprising. After these people were exposed, they immediately attacked the two weak deputy city lords and prepared to kill them. But Night Sorrow, Supreme Ancestral Phoenix and the rest were already prepared for this and easily suppressed these people and killed them all. After killing Supreme Ancestral Dragon and the rest, the two deputy city lords began to discuss the matter of the Grotto Heaven with everyone. Night Sorrow no longer cared about what happened after that. After returning to Jing Yun's residence, he spent a month peacefully with Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. In this 1 month, although he did not cultivate, Night Sorrow felt that he had become stronger. After that, since he had to wait for Bai Mei Sanren for 100 years, he began to absorb the Heavenly Supreme's natural laws and essence. His strength was slowly increasing. When Night Sorrow reached 70 years of cultivation, he felt that he was extremely close to achieving the intermediate 9 Heaven Supreme Realm. Originally, he wanted to cultivate for a little longer. However, 2 major events had occurred in the divine world. The 2 deputy castellans had both advanced to the level of earthly sovereign. To the divine world, this was a joyous occasion. On that day, it was to celebrate. The 2 vice city lords led the paragons of the god world, including Night Sorrow, into the paragon space. In less than a year's time, he had killed more than 30 supremes from other territories. At this point, no one dared to come to the divine world to block people. After that, the 2 vice city lords came to the Grotto Heaven under Night Sorrow's lead. Night Sorrow handed over the control of the Grotto Heaven to the first vice city lord. Then, he returned to the divine world and cultivated while waiting for Bai Mei Sanren's arrival. However, there were still 20 years before the 100-year agreement. Jing Yun suddenly woke Night Sorrow up from his cultivation state. "What happened, Jing Yun?" Night Sorrow, who was woken up, asked puzzledly. "Husband. I don't know how long it will take for you to return from the fog this time. Rather than waiting, I want to try to have a child." Speaking up to this point, Jing Yun continued, "Although I know that the chances are extremely slim, I still want to give it a try." "Ah. Have a child. Hearing this, Night Sorrow thought for a while and said, "This is indeed very difficult. That's because our cultivation is simply too high." "I know. But if we don't try, we won't have a chance at all." "Try, there will always be hope." Jing Yun continued with a flushed face. After she finished speaking, Night Sorrow suddenly felt his abdomen heat up. He directly carried her to the bed and tried. However, after about 10 years, he tried thousands of times, but there was no result. When there were still 10 years before the 100-year agreement, Jing Yun said, "There are still 10 years, go and accompany her." The meaning of these words was naturally to let Night Sorrow accompany Wu Lingfei. She didn't reject Wu Lingfei's matter at all. On the contrary, she sympathized with her. After Jing Yun finished speaking, Night Sorrow was a little silent, not knowing how to respond. In the end, he still had incomparable respect for Wu Lingfei. That feeling was different from when he faced Jing Yun and the others, so he was a little conflicted. When Jing Yun pulled him to Wu Lingfei's door, Night Sorrow's heart was quite nervous. At this time, he heard Wu Lingfei say, "Come in." "Okay." Night Sorrow, who had never been nervous in any situation, felt his heart beating very fast. Although he and Wu Lingfei had broken the barrier before, a certain image in his heart had always been there. When walking in, Night Sorrow bit the corner of his lips. He didn't know if it was right to completely break the taboo with Wu Lingfei, or Aunt Fei. "You're here, sit down." When Night Sorrow entered the house, he slowly walked into the living room. Wu Lingfei poured him a cup of tea. Then she said, "I want the same treatment as Jing Yun." "The same treatment?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow almost spat out the tea in his mouth. "Don't be surprised. It's the same treatment. I also want a child." Wu Lingfei said and pulled Night Sorrow, who had just taken a sip of tea, into the bedroom. In the following 10 years, when Bai Mei Sanren came to find Night Sorrow felt a little unsteady. This feeling was as if his divine essence energy had been completely exhausted. However, he still said goodbye to Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei and set off for the foggy area with Bai Mei Sanren. In order to fight against the experts in the foggy area during the Great Calamity, Night Sorrow had no choice but to enter the tiger's den. After about 3 years, Night Sorrow and the others arrived at the edge of the foggy area. At this time, Night Sorrow let Qin Yun out and let him lead the way. The three of them walked into the foggy area step by step. As soon as they entered the foggy area, a large patch of fog appeared in front of them. This kind of fog was very special. Even Night Sorrow and the others couldn't see through it with the naked eye. Thus, he directly opened the sea serpent eye to check the path ahead. As soon as the sea serpent eye opened, Night Sorrow's scalp immediately went numb. Clan M. Chapter 3080. After opening the sea serpent's eye, they could see through the fog in front of them. However, at the same time, they could clearly see the many creatures in the fog. In front of them was an inconspicuous forest, but the trees had long been eroded by the fog. As far as the eye could see, they all looked very evil. Every tree had at least one mouth with 2 rows of shark-like teeth in it. At this moment, these trees were eating a huge half-stepped earthly sovereign owl. This owl looked like an elephant, but it was not. It was as huge as a mountain. Although it kept struggling, it was completely swallowed by the trees in front of them in less than 30 breaths. Not even the bones around it were left. This is a strange forest in front of us. The trees have mouths and fangs. It had just eaten an owl. How should we pass through such a place? After observing clearly, Night Sorrow immediately explained to the two beside him. Hearing this, Qin Yun immediately replied, "This forest is called the Strangewood Forest. It is everywhere in the fog. We'd better choose to avoid it." This kind of thing will devour anything it sees, unless it is destroyed. All right. Then let's go around it. Where do you think we should go first? Night Sorrow asked while looking for a route to go around the strange wood forest. Chen Qingyun pondered for a moment and said, since everyone is here to improve their strength. Also, you have the means to resist the fog. It's best for us to hunt some earthly sovereign beasts or other resources in the area in front of us. After accumulating to a certain extent, we can choose to enter the city and exchange for resources that are beneficial to our cultivation. I have a question. Is the city in the fog also shrouded in fog? Bai Mei Sanren, who had been silent all this time, asked curiously. Their understanding of the foggy area was too little. Every city in the fog is shrouded in a formation. There is no fog inside. In addition, the cultivators in the fog have lived in the fog for a long time. Many people have found the means to see through the fog. About 20% of them can see through the fog. Usually, teams that go out to hunt beasts will bring such people along. Chen Qingyun explained the situation to Bai Mei Sanren and Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow continued to ask, Senior Whitebrow and I don't have the aura of the fog on us. Won't we be discovered if we enter the city like this? Haha. How can you not have the aura of the fog on your bodies? It's just that your minds haven't been corroded. In fact, as time passes, there will be an obvious aura of the fog around you. This was something that could not be changed. It's like soaking in fragrant water. You'll definitely be tainted by the smell. While Chen Qingyun explained with a smile, he continued, however, everyone should be aware that the rules of the foggy zone are completely different from those of the eternal supreme cosmos. In the foggy area, massacres could be seen everywhere. If you don't want to be seen through, you have to be completely unreasonable. If you don't like someone, you can just attack them directly. You will never be exposed. Good. That's easy. Night Sorrow nodded and continued forward with the other two. Walking on the ground, they bypassed the strange wood forest. After walking for about an hour, they encountered a bewildering beast of the earthly supreme level for the first time. The so-called bewildering beast was a ferocious beast whose mind had been corroded in the fog. They were more ferocious than the ferocious beasts of the eternal supreme cosmos. No matter what they saw, they would take the initiative to attack. This bewildering beast in front of us is called the devouring dragon demonic beast. Although it doesn't look good, it's very terrifying. Everyone, you must be careful when fighting it. Through Night Sorrow's description, Chen Qingyun immediately determined what the bewildering beast in front of them was. When fighting, can you use the power of your spiritual strength to detect the bewildering beast's location? Before they attacked, Night Sorrow asked. He could see and use the power of his spiritual strength to detect the bewildering beast's location. However, he wasn't sure if the other two could do it. Hearing this, Chen Qingyun immediately replied awkwardly, it seems that only cultivators with the strength of an earthly supreme and above can use the power of their spiritual strength to detect in the foggy area. I can use the power of my spiritual strength to detect things. However, the range of detection is only 100 miles. For the time being, I can't detect the bewildering beast. As Bai Mei Sanren spoke, he took out the iron rod from the space hollow. This was the divine weapon he had obtained in the winter. Brother Qin, enter my space hollow. The two of us will fight this bewildering dragon demonic beast. After Night Sorrow kept Chen Qingyun in the space hollow, he took out the golden heavenly halberd. The bewildering dragon demonic beast in front of them looked a little like a black phoenix. However, it had 2 heads and 1 foot. Of the 2 heads, one was like a chicken's head and the other was like a cat's head. However, both of them were extremely huge and looked very ferocious. Brother Bai Mei, let's do it. It seems to be restricted by the fog and didn't discover us. The bewildering dragon demonic beast in front of them was lying on the mountainside, about 300 miles away from the two of them. After saying this, Yi Shang and White-Browed Wanderer went up. When they were about 100 miles away, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice, "Let's do it." For ordinary cultivators, 100 miles was not considered far. For earthly supremes and earthly supremes, it was even more so. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he directly shot the bewildering dragon demonic beast in front of them. White-Browed Wanderer brandished his iron staff and struck out. The two of them attacked at the same time. The bewildering dragon demonic beast did not even have time to react and took the two attacks head-on. After being hit by Night Sorrow and by Mei Sanren, the bewildering dragon demonic beast suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. That roar was hoarse with a trace of sorrow, as if it came from the dark hell. It sounded extremely evil and made people feel very uncomfortable. It was completely different from the beasts in the Eternal Supreme World. Its defense seems to be very strong. Senior, don't hesitate. Let's each use our strongest attacks. Let's kill it before it recovers. After being roared at, Night Sorrow felt very uncomfortable. He roared loudly to dispel the feeling of oppression in his heart. He activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret Technique and used the Qingxian Godly Spear Technique to launch a storm of attacks on the bewildering dragon demonic beast. On the other side, Bai Mei Sanren waved the earthly supremes in his hand and attacked in a similarly frenzied manner. For a moment, the bewildering dragon demonic beast was completely suppressed. At this time, it was too late for it to escape. In less than 20 breaths of time, it was killed. After killing the bewildering dragon demonic beast, Night Sorrow obtained a black crystal. This black crystal contained rich earthly supremes precepts in essence. It was of good quality. "Brother Qin, I'll give this black crystal to you." After summoning Chen Qingyun, Night Sorrow handed the black crystal to him. Hearing this, Chen Qingyun said sadly, "It's useless to give it to me. My body has reached its limit and I can't advance to earthly supremes. Brother Yi, you can use it yourself. I can absorb it too." Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it was a waste for him to directly absorb the Heavenly Supreme's precepts and essence at his current level. This was because the Heavenly Supreme's precepts and essence were too rare. He was prepared to change his routine and use the bewildering dragon demonic beast's earthly supreme's precepts and essence to advance to intermediate supremes. Clan M. Chapter 3081. In the foggy area, the sea serpents I could suppress the enemy first. Therefore, it was very easy for them to kill earthly supremes. Moreover, if they cultivated in this way, their foundation would not be affected much if they advanced to middle supremes. This was because Night Sorrow had already absorbed enough Heavenly Supreme precepts and essence at the lesser supreme level. How is it? Are the earthly supreme rules and essence in this foggy area different from the eternal supreme world? After Night Sorrow finished absorbing and got up from the ground, Bai Mei Sanren immediately asked. Now, they were basically trying to cross the river in the foggy area. Although Chen Qingyun had lived here for many years, he was limited by his strength and the things he came into contact with were very limited. He couldn't even tell where the three of them were in the foggy area. Hearing the three's question, Night Sorrow thought for a while and said, "The earthly supreme rules and essence here seem to be purer than the eternal supreme world. I can't tell what it is, but it seems to be closer to the Great Way." Closer to the Great Way. Bai Mei Sanren frowned and asked. Night Sorrow continued, "It's a very mysterious feeling, but it's hard to describe." Okay. If there are more gains later, I'll try to absorb some and feel it. After Bai Mei Sanren finished speaking, he continued, "Let's continue to kill the beasts." Okay. Night Sorrow put Chen Qingyun into the space again and used the advantage of the sea serpent's eye to search for lone beasts with Bai Mei Sanren. This time, in less than an hour, the two found a new target. It was a strange beast that looked a little like a stone mountain. The two of them successfully killed it. After obtaining the earthly supreme essence, Baimei Sanren tried to absorb it and found that the earthly supreme rules and essence in this foggy area were indeed different from the eternal supreme world. He also felt that the earthly supreme rules and essence here were purer. Maybe it's because the cultivators in the eternal supreme world have more complicated thoughts and think more things. As for the creatures in the fog, they only have the heart to kill. Baimei Sanren also came to the same conclusion. Knight Sorrow made his own deduction. Baimei Sanren smiled and said, maybe. Obviously, he felt that his speculation was a little too far-fetched. Knight Sorrow didn't care too much about this. After that, the two of them started hunting mystic beasts again. Knight Sorrow was also in the process of absorbing the earthly sovereign's precepts in essence. He was getting closer and closer to becoming an intermediate sovereign. On the 7th year after they entered the fog area, Knight Sorrow and Baimei Sanren were fighting a mystic beast when they suddenly heard the sound of fighting. Along with the sounds of fighting, the roars of cultivators could also be heard. Knight Sorrow and Baimei Sanren looked at each other and quickly used their ultimate skills to kill the bewildering beasts in front of them. With Knight Sorrow opening the sea serpent's eye, the two of them moved towards the direction of the sound of fighting. The sound didn't sound far, but when they moved towards the direction of the sound, the two of them confirmed that the distance between them was about 10,000 miles. After getting closer, Knight Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and looked through the fog. Suddenly, he saw a huge screen that looked like a mountain in the strange wood forest in front of him. The sound of fighting came from this curtain. In front of us is a huge tomb made of stones. It's thousands of feet tall and occupies a large area. It's surrounded by a dense forest of strange trees. These trees are the same as the ones we saw when we first entered the fog area. Every tree has a mouth. Knight Sorrow saw the situation in front of him and immediately explained to Baimei Sanren and Qinqingyun. Huge tomb. Could there be something good in the tomb that attracted cultivators to fight? Hearing this, Baimei Sanren frowned and said. At this moment, his eyes were dark and he couldn't see anything. Qinqingyun said, according to the records of the fog area, the owners of such tombs were usually heavenly sovereigns when they were alive. Brother Yi, look around the tomb and see if there are any restrictions. There are restrictions, but they're already broken. They should have been destroyed by the people who entered the tomb. Knight Sorrow observed for a while and said. To be able to destroy a heavenly sovereign level restriction, the cultivator who entered the tomb shouldn't be simple. Moreover, this tomb is in the forest of strange trees. Should we just avoid it? Qinqingyun immediately said with some fear after hearing this. To him, the tomb of a heavenly sovereign and the forest of strange trees were extremely terrifying existences. At this moment, Baimei Sanren said with interest, we've hunted for 7 years and obtained earthly sovereign level items. Now that we've encountered such an opportunity, it would be a waste to miss it. Oh. Brother, do you mean that we should go in and take a look? Knight Sorrow looked at Baimei Sanren and said. In fact, this was exactly what he wanted. It was estimated that the fog area was only 10,000 years away from the disaster of the eternal supreme world. He had to improve his strength as soon as possible. It was possible to advance to middle sovereign level if he hunted the beasts here step by step. But to advance to upper sovereign level and half-step earthly sovereign level, that would take too many years. It was absolutely unacceptable. Of course. As the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If we don't take the risk, how can we obtain heavenly sovereign rules and essence, or even heavenly sovereign artifacts? Lead the way. Baimei Sanren made a prompt decision. He also knew how terrifying it was to be attacked by the fog area. The endless fog army, coupled with the ferocious beasts, was not something that the eternal supreme world cultivators could resist. Moreover, there were 3 peerless experts in the fog area. Okay. Let's go. If the situation is not right, I'll put you into the space cave and escape with you. After all, I have the eyes of the sea serpent and can see very far. Night Sorrow said and led Bai Mei Sanren into the strange wood forest. After getting closer, Night Sorrow found that the trees in the forest were a little strange. It was as if they had fallen into a deep sleep and had no intention of attacking them. Brother Chin, why do these trees look like they're in a deep sleep? Night Sorrow, who was not sure what had happened, asked. This should be the sleeping curse. It can make the trees in the strange wood forest sleep for a year and not attack cultivators for a year. Only the major forces in the fog area have such means. The people in the tomb are definitely not simple. Chen Qingyun told him everything he knew. To be honest, he did not want to go in at all. Even his divine soul was trembling. Don't be afraid. Even if we can't defeat them, we can escape successfully. The path of cultivation is against the heavens. It's impossible to achieve success without a smooth journey. No matter what, your Tao heart must not be disturbed. Night Sorrow, who clearly sensed Chen Qingyun's situation, said. Hearing this, Chen Qingyun's body immediately trembled. He had an epiphany because of Night Sorrow's words. Clan M. Chapter 3082. In an instant, Chen Qingyun understood a principle. Even if his body was limited, he could still go against the heavens. He looked at Night Sorrow and said gratefully, listening to your words is better than 10,000 years of cultivation. My body isn't strong enough, so I can't advance to the Earth's sovereign level. But I can find opportunities to improve my body's strength. The world is so big, there will be treasures that can improve my body. You're right to think so. Never compromise on the path of cultivation. If you admit defeat, you'll disappear into the crowd. Night Sorrow looked at Chen Qingyun and said with a smile. However, just as he finished speaking, he said vigilantly, Brother White Brow, be careful. There's a small-scale trap array at the entrance of the ancient tomb. The trap array's method isn't brilliant, but breaking it rashly will alarm the people inside. After speaking to Bai Mei Sanren, Night Sorrow summoned a pair of restriction-breaking hammers and said, Can the two of you bring us in without alarming the people inside? Of course. The array in front of us is only an ordinary sovereign-level array. We can easily deceive them. After observing the array in front of them, the male hammer said indifferently. The female hammer said cautiously, the success rate is very high, but we can't be completely sure. Because there's the possibility of an array within an array. Okay. Let me observe carefully. Caution is the parent of safety. After hearing the female hammer's words, Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and observed carefully. After confirming that there was no array within an array, he said, The array in front of us doesn't have an array within an array. We can go in. Okay. Then we'll bring you in. The female hammer said and brought Night Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren into the ancient tomb with the male hammer. As soon as they entered the ancient tomb, the two of them felt a bone-piercing chill. At the same time, the original battle was still going on, and it sounded like it was far underground. Let's go in. I just hope there's no sky sovereign down there. Yishang said and took the lead to walk in front. As for the restriction-breaking hammers, they were shrunk and hung on his waist like two bells. Upon hearing Night Sorrow mention a heavenly supreme, Bai Mei Sanren laughed and said, If there really is a heavenly supreme down there, we'll probably be dead by now. The difference between heaven and earth is not a joke. Yes. I know. Night Sorrow clearly remembered that when the Supreme Longevity fought against some earthly sovereigns, it was a one-sided suppression. There was no suspense at all. On top of that, the heavenly sovereign precepts and essences that he absorbed were vastly different from the earthly sovereign precepts and essences. In comparison, it was like a divine object. After that, Night Sorrow and Daoist White Eyebrows entered a long and narrow passage. This passageway was only 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide. Night Sorrow looked around and found that he couldn't see the end of it. He opened his mouth and said, "On the surface, it looks very similar to the materials used in mortal tombs." But in reality, this passageway was probably not simple. Let's observe bit by bit and go deeper bit by bit. After saying that, Night Sorrow summoned Little 7 and Little 9. Both of them came from the Eternal Divine Tower and had extraordinary eyesight. Little 7 observed for a while and said, "There shouldn't be any problems with this passageway. It's just that walking straight is not the way out. The exits are all on the walls. There are about 100 exits." 100 exits? How can you tell? Bai Mei Sanren asked curiously when he heard Little 7's words. This is the famous 100 Spirits tomb in the foggy area. The passageway in front of us is called 100 Spirits Road. There are 100 doors called 100 Spirits doors. If you walk to the end, you will die. So, you have to choose one of the 100 Spirits doors to enter. You can only live if you pass through it. If you don't, you will die. Little 7 continued. It had entered the 100 Spirits tomb before and knew some things. 100 Spirits door. What's inside? Night Sorrow asked curiously. 100 Spirits door. There are 100 ghosts inside. Every one of them is an evil spirit. According to the strength of the tomb owner, who is a heavenly sovereign. There should be over 100 earthly sovereign evil spirits behind each door. Little 7 said word by word. 100 earthly sovereign evil spirits. Hearing this, Night Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren looked at each other and felt that something was wrong. They were 2 earthly sovereigns, but there were 100 earthly sovereign evil spirits inside. If they entered rashly, they would be courting death. It's my fault. I should have warned you earlier. When I was outside, I already felt that something was wrong. But too much time has passed. I didn't think of it then. Little 7 said in a slightly vexed manner. It continued, but now is not the time to regret. There is no turning back once you enter this path. Let's find 100 Spirits door to enter. If we pass through it successfully, we might get a gift from the tomb owner. But the gift from the tomb owner in the foggy area might not be good. The creatures in the foggy area are bad. No matter what, we have to be mentally prepared. Since we have to choose one to enter, let's choose one according to fate. Night Sorrow said, then looked at Bai Mei Sanren and said, Brother Bai Mei Sanren, pick one and we will enter. Forget it. You are the one who is blessed by fate. You should pick one. I think the path you pick is definitely the right one. Bai Mei Sanren shook his head and said to Night Sorrow. Okay. I will pick one. Night Sorrow nodded and kept Little 7, Little 9, and the restriction-breaking bronze hammer in the space hollow. Then, they walked forward. After walking for a while, Night Sorrow saw the shape of a door on the wall. Every door is 100 Spirits door. You can choose one to enter. What is in each door depends on your luck. But there shouldn't be any heavenly sovereigns. Little 7, who was in the space hollow, reminded them. Okay. Let's go first. There is nothing to choose from. Night Sorrow said, then walked to the door closest to them and said, let's go in. No matter what we encounter, we will kill it. Okay. I will take the lead. Bai Mei Sanren was very generous and took the lead to walk towards the door. He really went through the wall and walked in. Then, Night Sorrow followed him in. After walking in, they entered a dark and silent space. The quiet and dark environment was as if time had stopped. Bai Mei Sanren, who was blind, said telepathically, "Brother Night Sorrow, what is in here?" "My sea serpent, I can only see clearly within 100 meters. There is nothing within 100 meters. It is an empty flat ground." Night Sorrow observed for a while and replied. At this moment, the space where the two of them were suddenly filled with horrifying ghost cries. The ghost cries sounded extremely tragic and seemed to be coming from afar. The two of them felt something floating over at the same time. Chapter 3083. There were definitely more than one or two things floating towards them. When Night Sorrow saw them clearly, he immediately felt goosebumps all over his body. However, after careful observation with the eye of the sea serpent, he realized that not all of the evil spirits floating towards them were at the earthly sovereign level. There were two earthly sovereign evil spirits, leading hundreds and thousands of other evil spirits at the martial saint level as they wandered over sinisterly. He immediately transmitted his voice to Bai Mei Sanren. "There are only two earthly sovereign evil spirits. If we go all out, we definitely have a chance." In the dark tomb, facing so many evil spirits, even Night Sorrow had to go all out. Many ants can bite an elephant to death. So many earthly sovereign evil spirits are also not easy to deal with. Let's use our own methods. As Bai Mei Sanren reminded them, he took out a copper coin covered in green rust from his spatial artifact. He threw it into the air, and the copper coin immediately shone with a faint green light. Being illuminated by this soft green light, the originally pitch-black space suddenly had a ray of light. After the light appeared, the faces of many evil spirits were seen by Night Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren at the same time. Among these evil spirits, there were ordinary practitioners like Night Sorrow, but their bodies were green and white, the color of a dead person's skin. There were also some other unknown creatures with all kinds of strange shapes and sizes. But overall, each of them emitted a dense and evil aura. Reversal of heaven and earth, shackles of yin and yang. Seeing the appearance of these evil spirits, the white-browed wanderer frowned in fear and then loudly roared, "Come!" As he chanted the incantation, the faint green light suddenly turned into sharp swords, slashing at the evil spirits in front of them. In an instant, dozens of earthly sovereign evil spirits were killed. Good move. Night Sorrow praised Bai Mei Sanren when he saw that he had killed dozens of earthly sovereign evil spirits. Then, he took out the fire and beacon smoke diagram from his space paradise. He directly smashed it into one of the earthly sovereign evil spirits. This earthly sovereign evil spirit looked very similar to a Qilin, but it was surrounded by an oppressive aura of death. It gave off an extremely evil feeling. After Night Sorrow smashed the fire beacon smoke diagram at it, he stabbed it with his spear. He wanted to kill it directly. However, the fire beacon smoke diagram did not suppress the evil spirit in front of him. Facing Night Sorrow's attack, it laughed and pounced at Night Sorrow. His body had been pierced by Yi Shang's golden heavenly halberd, but his enormous body clamped down on the golden heavenly halberd. Even if Night Sorrow's body could not pull the golden heavenly halberd immediately. Its sovereign evil spirit's body is so frightening. This was the first time Yi Shang had encountered a situation where he couldn't pull out the golden heavenly halberd. At the same time, the Qilin-like evil spirit abruptly let out an extremely evil roar at Yi Shang. It's a sound attack. Night Sorrow had rich battle experience. He immediately sensed the evil spirit's intention and surrounded himself with the power of merit. He used the power of merit to resist the evil spirit's attack. Wang. Although the power of virtue had a certain effect, Night Sorrow was still shaken to the point of dizziness. The power of merit is useful, but its grade is too low. Since I entered the eternal sovereign world, my power of merit has not increased. How can it completely resist the attack of an earthly sovereign evil spirit? I wonder if killing an evil spirit like this will increase my power of virtue. In the realm of the gods, Knight Sorrow only needed to kill evil creatures to obtain the power of merit. At this moment, a thought appeared in his mind. He ignored the earthly sovereign evil spirit in front of him and attacked the sovereign evil spirits that were pouncing at him. Soon, he killed more than 10 of them. Now, his true fighting power was definitely at the level of an earthly sovereign. Although there were many evil spirits in front of him, they were not much of a threat to him. The reason was that Knight Sorrow did not have any shortcomings. Whether it was his body or his spirit, they were both very strong. He killed more than 10 sovereign evil spirits in front of him. Yi Shang was pleasantly surprised to find that they had turned into golden power of virtue and burrowed into his body. With the support of the power of merit, Knight Sorrow's power of merit began to increase rapidly. By the time he killed 500 to 600 autarch-level evil spirits, his power of virtue would have successfully advanced to the intermediate sovereign level. After all, the gap between his power of merit and his cultivation had been too big before. Now, it was increasing rapidly. Knight Sorrow's protective divine domain had strengthened a lot because of this. Very good. At this rate, my power of merit will soon catch up to the level of a sovereign. This is really a pleasant surprise. The rapid increase of power of merit without any bottlenecks made Knight Sorrow very excited. When his power of merit had advanced to the level of an intermediate sovereign, Knight Sorrow fought with the Chilan evil spirit again. At this time, with the support of the power of merit, he smoothly took out the golden heavenly halberd. Mysterious Azure Divine Spear Art. After taking out the golden heavenly halberd, Knight Sorrow immediately activated the 33 Heavens battle secret technique and used all his strength to fight the evil spirit in front of him. At this time, Bai Mei Sanren was struggling to fight with another earthly sovereign evil spirit. That earthly sovereign evil spirit was a humanoid evil spirit. When he was alive, he should have been a cultivator and an expert among the earthly sovereigns. The strength of his body was extremely high. Although Bai Mei Sanren had the advantage in terms of technique, it was difficult for him to heavily injure his opponent with his attacks. He could only find opportunities to kill some sovereign evil spirits in the battle to reduce the pressure on him and Knight Sorrow. The battle lasted for about an hour. The sovereign evil spirits in front of them had all been killed by the two of them. Their opponents were only the two earthly sovereign evil spirits in front of them. Facing his opponent, Knight Sorrow didn't have to struggle too much, because his power of merit had a strong restraining effect on the evil spirits. After gaining the upper hand, Knight Sorrow suddenly roared, "Merit Trap Array!" Then, he used the power of merit to lock the earthly sovereign evil spirit in front of him. Then, the Divine Finger, Divine Spear, and Dragon's Roar all attacked the Kirin evil spirit. After being hit by the series of attacks, although the Kirin evil spirit's body was extremely strong, it was still heavily injured and basically lost the ability to resist. At this time, Little Seven, who was in the space cave, sent a message to Knight Sorrow, "Don't kill it yet. Let me go and subdue it. I should be able to get a lot of benefits. Let me do it. I'll get more benefits if I kill it." Hearing Little Seven's words, Knight Sorrow smiled and killed the Kirin evil spirit. After the Kirin evil spirit was killed, it immediately turned into a sky full of golden power of merit and surged into Knight Sorrow's body. After absorbing the power of merit of an earthly sovereign evil spirit, I didn't advance to an upper dominator? After absorbing the power of merit, Knight Sorrow felt very comfortable. The power of merit in his body also increased, but it didn't advance to an upper dominator as he had expected. Clan M. Chapter 3084. Just now, his power of virtue had advanced very quickly, but when it reached the intermediate dominator level, it slowed down. After absorbing the power of virtue transformed from an earthly sovereign evil spirit, he hadn't advanced to the level of an upper-level sovereign. While this surprised Knight Sorrow, he also knew that the path to the power of virtue's advancement required him to kill a large number of evil spirits. As soon as this thought flashed through his mind, Night Sorrow shouted, "Brother Whitebrow, I'm here to help you." He realized that Bai Mei Sanren was slightly passive in his fight against the evil spirit. The evil spirit that Bai Mei Sanren was dealing with could actually increase its strength a second time. It was more powerful than the one that Night Sorrow had killed. Night Sorrow didn't expect that at this moment, Bai Mei Sanren would say, "There's no need to help. I've reincarnated from the previous era. I don't lack methods. Dealing with it is a piece of cake." "Okay. Then I'll help you. At the same time, I'll study the path ahead." When Night Sorrow heard Bai Mei Sanren say this, he knew that he definitely had the confidence, so he didn't help. He summoned Little 7, Little 9, and the pair of restriction-breaking hammers. He said, "Let's study the surrounding environment together." Even with the sea serpents I activated, Night Sorrow couldn't see very far. To him, the place in front of him was complete darkness. The only thing he could see clearly was the area where the battle had just taken place. The strength of the perception barrier here is too strong. I can't see what's around me, Little 9 said helplessly after being summoned. Not long after, Little 7 and the restriction-breaking hammers also gave feedback. They couldn't see anything either. Here, they were like people who had been locked in a dark room but didn't know where they were. Uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. Night Sorrow released his spirit power to investigate, but he couldn't find any direction. It was as if the mountain was high and the clouds were deep, and he didn't know where he was. Since he couldn't find anything, Night Sorrow turned his attention to Bai Mei Sanren's battle. In terms of strength, the white-browed wanderer was weaker than the evil spirit in front of him, but just as he said, he had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. Often, he would be able to turn danger into safety and counterattack in a seemingly passive situation. After about 2 hours, Bai Mei Sanren completely killed the evil spirit in front of him. Haha! I've gained a lot from this battle. After killing the evil spirit, Bai Mei Sanren laughed and said, "Brother Yi, I'm not feeling well. Quickly let your white jade cleanse me." He had been fighting in the fog for a long time, so it was natural for him to be corroded. Hearing this, Yi Shang smiled and said, "We probably won't need the white jade." Sanren Kuei Sanren's power, Sanren of light, dragon Sanren, Sanren of virtue, Sanren surrounded by the golden dragon of virtue. The black gas around white-browed wanderer was completely dissolved. Amazing! Is this the legendary power, Sanren of virtue? Bai Mei Sanren asked doubtfully after the black gas on his body was cleansed. Yes. It's the power, Sanren of virtue. It has the same effect as the white jade, Night Sorrow replied. He didn't hide anything from Bai Mei Sanren. This was the respect he deserved. That's great. It's a pity that the power, Sanren of virtue, is something that can only be found by chance. Brother no longer has the chance to pursue it. Bai Mei Sanren smiled and continued, "Brother Night Sorrow, how's the search going?" "Not much. It's completely dark here. We don't even know how many pairs of eyes are watching us in the dark." Night Sorrow told him the truth. This place should have been set up by a heavenly supreme. He couldn't see through it at all. Since that's the case, why don't we just keep going forward? If we encounter evil spirits again, we'll just fight. What do you think? Bai Mei Sanren said without hesitation. Sure. As the saying goes, the brave are fearless. If there's no path, we'll just have to fight our way out. Hearing this, Yi Shang nodded. Then, he took off the white jade and handed it to Bai Mei Sanren. "Brother, I have the power of merit to protect me. You can keep the white jade with you for the time being. If we get separated, you won't lose your mind completely. Then I'll do as you say." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Bai Mei Sanren did not hold back. However, after receiving the white jade, he said, "Brother Night Sorrow, this is a huge gift. I have nothing to give in return. You will have the priority to choose any item we find in the fog. Brother, you're too polite. If we get something good, we can discuss it later. Knight Sorrow replied indifferently and continued to walk forward with Bai Mei Sanren. However, as they walked, they were stopped by a mountain. What's going on? There's a mountain in this tomb. Being blocked, White-Brow Wanderer immediately asked in confusion. Knight Sorrow, who had activated the sea serpent's eye to observe, was shocked and said, "Oh no. Brother, get out of the way. This is a huge evil spirit." "Oh. Okay. Okay." Bai Mei Sanren responded and used his movement technique to hide in the distance. Knight Sorrow saw that the evil spirit was a towering beast. They were blocked by one of the beast's legs. He used the mysterious sky's secret shadow to dodge. Under his intentional control, he did not pull away from Bai Mei Sanren. Just as the two of them began to dodge, the giant beast lifted its thick and sturdy legs and stomped towards the two of them. What kind of evil spirit is this? What a huge leg! The giant leg of the evil spirit was so huge that they could not see the end of it. Bai Mei Sanren, who was dodging, found that he could not dodge at all. He immediately shouted, "Brother Knight Sorrow, I can't dodge this leg. I'm going to attack directly." "Okay. In that case, I'll attack too. Let's work together to get rid of it." Hearing Bai Mei Sanren's words, Knight Sorrow immediately took out the golden heavenly halberd and the fire and beacon smoke diagram. He threw the fire and beacon smoke diagram into the void, wanting to affect the giant evil spirit. As for the golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he directly thrust it upwards. Knight Sorrow did not use any unique skills in this attack, but it was still very lethal. The evil spirit was in so much pain that it lifted its giant leg directly. "Good move. Watch me." Seeing Knight Sorrow's spear make the evil spirit raise its foot, Bai Mei roared loudly and used the iron rod in his hand to smash it upwards, creating a loud clang. "Awoo!" After being attacked continuously, the evil spirit was obviously angry. It let out a ghostly wail. This wail was much louder than Knight Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren's. It was many times louder. With Knight Sorrow's physical strength, he actually felt as if his eardrums were about to explode. It was very uncomfortable. And this evil spirit's sound wave attack seemed to be endless. It had no intention of stopping at all. "You're not done crying. Watch me smash your head." This kind of ghostly wail affected a person's mind. The evil spirit continued to let out ghostly wails. Bai Mei Sanren soon could not take it anymore and began to attack fiercely. Clan M. Chapter 3085. However, Bai Mei Sanren flew for a long time, but he didn't see the giant evil spirit's head. What welcomed him were 8 giant tentacles descending from the sky. When these tentacles were waved, they were the size of mountains. In comparison, Bai Mei Sanren seemed rather small. He wasn't even as big as the suckers on the tentacles. However, this didn't affect his attack power. He looked like he was invincible with a metal rod in his hand. He smashed the evil spirit's tentacles fiercely. "Ha! Brother is mighty." Knight Sorrow shouted from below. He also rose into the air to help Bai Mei Sanren fight against the giant evil spirit's tentacles. "We are both earthly sovereigns, but why is this tentacle monster so difficult to deal with?" Bai Mei Sanren, who had been waving his metal rod for a long time without breaking the tentacles, quickly frowned. He realized that the tentacle monster in front of him was many times stronger than the earthly sovereign evil spirit that he had killed. It felt invulnerable. This tentacle monster's defense is amazing, but its other aspects are very ordinary. We have some patience, and we will kill it eventually. Night Sorrow said in surprise when he felt Bai Mei Sanren's emotions suddenly become agitated. Kill. 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 However, after Night Sorrow finished speaking, Bai Mei Sanren suddenly became even more manic. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to take a look and realized that his eyes had turned blood red. His entire body was emitting a strong aura of hostility. What's going on? Bai Yu, didn't I ask you to protect Brother Bai Mei? What's wrong with him? Realizing that something was wrong, Night Sorrow immediately sent a message to Bai Yu. He was hit by something that the evil spirit's tentacles spat out, causing him to lose his mind and fall into a state of madness. It has nothing to do with the fog. Bai Yu immediately explained to Night Sorrow that it wasn't its fault. Something that the sucker spat out. When Night Sorrow heard this, he immediately became alert and surrounded himself with the power of merit. The power of virtue he currently controlled was at the level of an intermediate dominator. Directly attacking an earthly emperor-level evil spirit was not particularly effective. It could only be used as support. There really is something spewing out. Yi Shang had just enveloped himself with the power of good karma. The giant evil spirit's tentacles suddenly spat out a large amount of things at him. What was spat out was not liquid, nor was it mist. Instead, it was a large amount of vicious energy. This evil energy was red in color, and it contained a large amount of emotions, such as killing, bloodthirsty, and world-destroying. If it weren't for the power of merit blocking it, Night Sorrow would have been hit as well. So it's these things. After confirming what the tentacle monster had spat out, Night Sorrow immediately used the Dragon of Virtue on Bai Mei Sanren, allowing the Dragon of Virtue to purify the evil aura on his body. He was entangled by the Dragon of Virtue. Bai Mei Sanren's blood-red eyes gradually recovered, and so did his mind. What's wrong with me? I don't have any strength in my body. I can't condense any divine origin energy. Bai Mei Sanren, who had recovered, did not even have the strength to fly. As he spoke, he directly fell downwards. You were hit by the tentacle monster's secret technique and used up all your divine origin energy. At the same time Night Sorrow replied, he kept Bai Mei Sanren into his space grotto heaven, and let Qin Qingyun help him retrieve resources to help Bai Mei Sanren recover. He himself was completely engaged in battle with the giant evil spirit. In the process of battle, Night Sorrow discovered that the strength of this evil spirit's body was at an abnormal level. Even his golden heavenly halberd's divine spear was unable to penetrate it. The only good thing was that this tentacle monster's greatest ability was spitting out vicious energy. This move was completely useless against Night Sorrow. In the following battle, Night Sorrow relied on his annoyance to slowly fly to the top of the tentacle monster's head. He completely destroyed its dragon-shaped head. This process lasted for a total of 10 hours. After killing it, Night Sorrow was so tired that he almost collapsed. He thought to himself, this is only the third earthly sovereign evil spirit, and it's already so difficult to deal with. Little Seven said that there were more than 100 evil spirits. It seems like this trip is going to be difficult. As he thought to himself, Night Sorrow's body completely absorbed the power of virtue that the evil spirit had turned into. This time, Night Sorrow could clearly feel that his power of virtue was not far from the upper dominator level. He immediately understood how to break through the 100 Spirits Gate. That was to use battle to nurture battle. Through battle, he would strengthen his power of virtue bit by bit. Finally, he would rely on the power of virtue to break through the 100 Spirits Gate. Brother Night Sorrow, it's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, I would have been killed. Bai Mei Sanren, who had recovered a little, said with lingering fear. The giant evil spirit just now didn't seem to have any ability, but it suddenly exploded, making it impossible to guard against. If Night Sorrow didn't have the power of virtue protecting him, the two of them would definitely have been killed. Haha. I'm also lucky to have the power of virtue protecting me. Otherwise, I would have also been killed. Night Sorrow said modestly and began to recover. This time, he used about 3 days to completely recover. However, Bai Mei Sanren didn't completely recover. Therefore, Night Sorrow continued to lead Bai Mei Sanren forward. At this moment, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast suddenly said, "Night Sorrow, can you let Little Seven give me all the things it absorbed? I'll discuss it with Little Seven." Night Sorrow knew that the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, who had been cultivating all this time, had a great use for it. "You can give it to him. I don't care about these things." Little Seven, who had just absorbed a lot of evil spirits, handed them all to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. After absorbing all of them, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's strength suddenly increased by leaps and bounds. "I still need to absorb some more to reach the peak of the half-step earthly sovereign level. When I advance to the earthly sovereign level, I can fight side by side with you. The earthly sovereign evil spirits in front of us are too strong. I'm no match for them now." After absorbing all the resources, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was close to the peak of the half-step earthly sovereign level, but it had no intention of coming out to fight. This was because, with its strength, it was useless to come out and fight the earthly sovereign evil spirits. Yes. The 100 Spirits Gate is still long. If nothing goes wrong, you should be able to advance to the earthly sovereign level here. When that time comes, you can reach the sky in 1 step. However, you have to remember that our future opponents are not earthly sovereigns, but heavenly sovereigns and ultimate sovereigns. Don't be complacent when you advance to the earthly sovereign level. As Night Sorrow responded to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, he held the spear in one hand and continued to walk forward. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast said, "Don't worry. I won't be satisfied so easily." "That's good. I'll give you some heavenly sovereign laws in essence. Try to absorb them. It can let you comprehend some heavenly sovereign laws earlier." As he spoke, Night Sorrow handed a small spirit to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast for it to absorb. As soon as this was done, Night Sorrow once again heard the cries of evil spirits. Clan M. Chapter 3086. This time, the ghostly wail sounded like a woman's wail, and it sounded rather sorrowful. When Night Sorrow heard it, he found it difficult to calm down and felt extremely uncomfortable. He immediately condensed the power of merit to stop the ghostly wail. This ghostly wail is really unbearable. After feeling a little better, Night Sorrow said, "Brother Whitebrow, you haven't completely recovered yet. Leave this battle to me." Sigh. "I'm useless. But if there's any danger later, I'll still help." Bai Mei Sanren sighed. He originally thought that his cultivation level was higher than Night Sorrow's and that he would be of great help on this trip. He did not expect that he would be unable to keep up with the pace of the battle as soon as it began. "It's serious. This time, it's just my power of merit that played a special role. It's not that I'm not capable enough." Night Sorrow comforted him. Sigh. Bai Mei Sanren sighed and did not continue speaking. Chen Qingyun saw Bai Mei Sanren's expression and laughed. "I think Night Sorrow is a living legend. We look the same as him, but we're actually different. In this era, he's destined to be the main character. Although he's not particularly strong now, one day, he'll stand at the top. Don't compare yourself to him." "Ha, now that you mention it, I'm relieved." Bai Mei Sanren laughed and began to pay attention to Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow was still walking forward. He did not choose to fly. Instead, he walked step by step in the direction of the ghostly wail without retreating half a step. As he got closer, Night Sorrow finally found out where the ghostly wail came from. The target in front of him should have been a female cultivator when she was alive. At this moment, she had turned into a walking corpse, and her face was pale as if she had been smeared with powder. Behind the female ghost, there were nearly 100 ghosts at the level of supremes. The female ghost was wailing, and these ghosts did not dare to make a sound. They all obediently submitted, as if they were waiting for orders. Living humans, don't enter. After noticing Knight's sorrow, the female ghost looked up at him and spat venomously. Strangers are not allowed to enter. What great resentment. I advise you to reincarnate as soon as possible. The female ghost in front of him was different from the few that Knight's sorrow had encountered before. The few that he had encountered before were completely walking corpses. Someone had used a secret technique to generate a new soul from their corpses, or in other words, spiritual intelligence. This female ghost, on the other hand, had a normal soul. She must have been transformed into this by someone using a secret technique when she was about to die. He felt like he was neither a human nor a ghost. Reincarnation. I won't give you the chance. Go to hell. There seemed to be something in the female ghost's throat. She howled hoarsely and waved her hand. Kill him. I want you to reincarnate. Since you don't want to, then accept the fate of having your soul destroyed. 100 ghosts attacked. Knight's sorrow roared and held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. He slashed out a ray of light in the direction of the 100 ghosts' attack. This ray of light is not only the attack of the golden heavenly halberd, it is also mixed with the power of virtue. After being hit by this ray of light, many evil spirits let out miserable howls. In front of Knight's sorrow, these supreme-level evil spirits simply couldn't resist at all. Realizing this, the female ghost, or rather, the demoness, raised her head to the sky and howled. She soared into the sky and transformed into boundless resentment that charged at Yishan. Knight's sorrow, be careful. This move is called Demoness Howl. It is not simple. It is best not to block it head-on. Originally, Knight's sorrow wanted to use the power of virtue to block this move. However, at this moment, Little Nine suddenly transmitted her voice over. She reminded him that this move is not simple. However, during a battle, it can reverse the situation in a single breath. Little Nine did not have time to explain in detail. All right. I choose to dodge. Facing this demoness howl, Knight's sorrow immediately used the mysterious sky's secret shadow after receiving Little Nine's reminder and flashed far away. In an instant, he was out of the opponent's attack range. Kill, 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 kill. After missing its target, the female ghost appeared again. Her eyes, which were already glowing with green light, were now filled with even more hatred. She continuously roared the word kill 7 times. Then, she disappeared into the void again. Even if Knight's sorrow used the sea serpent's eye, he could not see her figure. It is the female ghost's 7 kill art. This move cannot be dodged. You must choose to block it head-on. If you dodge, the strength of the female ghost will increase infinitely. Because this move is to use the fear in the opponent's heart to increase her strength. If you choose to dodge, it means that you have fear in your heart and it will help her increase her strength. At this moment, Little Nine once again transmitted her voice to remind him. Alright, I will listen to you. This time, Knight's sorrow once again chose to believe Little Nine. As time was tight, he did not have time to ask Little Nine how she knew all this, but he still did as she said. He released the power of merit and let it surround his body to block the female ghost's attack. However, after a long time, the surrounding evil spirits had already pounced on him, but the female ghost still did not appear. Ha! She did not appear, which means that her strength did not increase at all. This move was easily broken by you. Knight's sorrow and the 100 ghosts fought for a long time. He had already killed all the evil spirits and turned them into power of merit and absorbed them into his body. The female ghost still did not appear. Little Nine, who was in the space grotto heaven, said confidently. This time, it is all thanks to your knowledge. Otherwise, how could you break her mysterious attack so easily? Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice while he was on guard. He was telling the truth. This time, if Little Nine had not seen this before, he would have been able to dodge the female ghost's attacks continuously. Who knows how powerful the female ghost would be? Die! Night Sorrow had just finished transmitting his voice when the female ghost's roar came from the void again. The word die was filled with endless hatred. What's the meaning of this move? Night Sorrow asked Little Nine again. This time, Little Nine was stunned for a moment before saying, "It doesn't seem to be anything special. I can fight with my full strength now." All right. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately rose into the void and activated the Tristrimsa battle secret technique. With the golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he fought against the female ghost. At this time, the female ghost's two killer moves had missed. It was obvious that she was at her wit's end and could only rely on her strength to fight. She was an evil spirit of the Earth's sovereign level and was not weak. However, she could not gain the upper hand against Night Sorrow. With the help of the power of merit, Night Sorrow quickly killed her and absorbed the power of merit that she had turned into. At this time, a divine soul filled with murderous intent suddenly appeared in the void. Night Sorrow looked up and saw that it was the woman's divine soul. What's going on? Shouldn't her divine soul be destroyed? Night Sorrow remembered that he had already killed her completely. He could not understand why a divine soul would appear in the void. Clan M. Chapter 3087. After the female ghost turned into a divine soul, her face was full of pain and struggle. She cried and laughed at times, looking very strange. What's going on? Do any of you know? Night Sorrow saw the scene in front of him and immediately asked. Maybe her divine soul has been invaded by the evil aura. She wants to reincarnate, but she can't do it. Little Nine, who was in the space cave, transmitted its voice to Night Sorrow. However, it was not sure. At this moment, the female ghost's divine soul suddenly said, "Please, I beg you. Kill me. No matter what, seeing her in so much pain, you should help her free herself." Bai Mei Sanren transmitted his voice when he saw the divine soul floating in the void in pain. Obviously, he was moved by compassion. "I'll try my best." The female ghost's divine soul and Bai Mei Sanren both wanted Night Sorrow to kill her. At this moment, Night Sorrow responded. He condensed golden merit power and tried to purify the female ghost's divine soul. Night Sorrow, who originally wanted to give it a try, found that the purification was effective. Soon, the female ghost's divine soul's ferocious expression gradually calmed down and finally became peaceful. "Thank you, benefactor. May I know your name? If I can recover my memory in my next life, I will definitely serve you as your servant." After the female ghost regained her consciousness, she immediately bowed to Night Sorrow. "My name is Night Sorrow. You don't have to repay my kindness. In your next life, don't reincarnate in the mist area." Night Sorrow said slowly, without any intention of being arrogant. "I was a cultivator in the Eternal Supreme World when I was alive. I hope to appear in the Eternal Supreme World again in my next life." The female ghost said and then asked, "How did you get trapped in the 100 Spirit sect?" "We saw that this was the tomb of a heavenly supreme and heard the sound of fighting. We felt that there was an opportunity, so we came in." Night Sorrow did not hold back. He believed in the female ghost's divine soul in front of him. Sigh. "Benefactor, this is a trap set by an evil spirit of a heavenly supreme. He had lured many cultivators here to absorb their strength and strengthen himself. This little girl was refined into an appearance that was neither human nor ghost. The evil spirits in the 100-spirit sect were all raised by him. The female ghost sighed. What? There was such a thing. How does a heavenly sovereign level evil spirit compare to a true heavenly sovereign? When Knight Sorrow heard the female ghost's words, he broke out in a cold sweat. His strength is naturally not as strong as a heavenly sovereign, but he should be stronger than a half-step heavenly sovereign, the female ghost said slowly. Then his goal is to absorb the power of cultivators. Why did he create so many 100 spirits gates? If a cultivator enters, can't he just make a move? Yi Shang asked doubtfully after thinking for a moment. I'm not sure about that either. It's possible that he's under some kind of restriction, so it's not convenient for him to make a move. The female ghost analyzed, but she wasn't sure what was going on. I know what happened. At that moment, Little Seven, who was in the space cave, sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow. It's very simple. I feel that this evil spirit set up the 100 spirits gate in order to find a powerful body for itself. He wants to possess the body. Because he is a heavenly supreme, he has high requirements for the body. Hence, he set up the 100 spirits gate as a trap. Needless to say, those who pass through will be possessed by him. Now that you mention it, that might be the case. So, what should we do next? When he heard Little Seven's words, Knight Sorrow felt a chill run down his spine. If he had not met the female ghost and purified her, he would not have thought that there was a conspiracy in the 100-spirit sect. He would have thought that it was an opportunity left behind by the tomb owner. This is really not easy to deal with. Unless you continue to cultivate here and wait until you can resist him before leaving the 100 spirits gate. Otherwise, you will die either way. Little Seven said helplessly. Although the evil spirit was only a heavenly supreme, his strength was not to be underestimated. He was definitely not someone that Knight Sorrow or Bai Mei Sanren could resist. I came to the foggy area to increase my strength quickly. How can I continue to cultivate here? That's not possible. Knight Sorrow immediately retorted. He did not have the time to cultivate here for a few eras or even a few reincarnations. Then what can we do? Little Seven said bitterly. He felt that the calamity was coming and staying by Knight Sorrow's side was the best choice. He did not want him to be possessed by the evil spirit. My idea is to continue to fight and increase my strength during the battle. Knight Sorrow pondered for a while before continuing. At that moment, the female ghost continued, Benefactor, do you think you should continue to fight? Yes. I am prepared to continue to fight. No matter what, it is better than being trapped in the 100 spirits gate forever. Knight Sorrow said truthfully. As for the merit power, he would not reveal it. If you want to continue to fight, I can tell you something. The evil spirits here are all afraid of fire and light. If the intensity of the fire or light is high enough, it can even weaken the evil spirit by 90%. The female ghost used to be a member of the 100 Spirits Gate, so she naturally knew some of their weaknesses. After saying that, she continued, another thing is that there is a very powerful evil spirit here. It is about the same strength as an upper earthly sovereign. It is very close to being a half-step heavenly supreme. It is hiding at the exit of the 100 Spirits Gate. As long as you defeat it, you can leave the 100 Spirits Gate. You must be careful of it. Its trump card is its eyes. You must be careful of its eyes. Thank you. Knight Sorrow thanked the female ghost when he heard that. The fact that the evil spirit was afraid of fire and light was a great help to him. Benefactor, you are welcome. If there is nothing else, I will be reincarnating. The female ghost bowed to Knight Sorrow again before she turned and left. Knight Sorrow said, rest for 2 days and then continue to fight. When the time comes, let's see if the flames are useful. He remembered that during the battle, the merit power and the golden heavenly halberd had released light. However, it did not seem to be of any use. He guessed that if the female ghost was right, the light was not bright enough. Therefore, he was prepared to use the phoenix fire in the next battle. Brother Yishang, I've basically recovered. Let's fight together. When Night Sorrow encountered the next batch of 3 evil spirits, Bai Mei Sanren, who was in the space hollow, was afraid that he would not be able to take it. Knowing that White Brow Wanderer hadn't recovered, Yishan smiled and said, "Brother, don't worry. Although there are 3 evil spirits, there are 3 of them. Although there are 3 evil spirits, I have the phoenix fire. I should not be afraid of them." After replying, Yishan flew into the void and used the raging inferno demon on the 3 earthly sovereign evil spirits before him. Within the flames, there was the scorching phoenix fire. Chapter 3088. As the raging flames burned the entire void red, the phoenix fire suddenly turned into 3 fire phoenixes. As they screeched, they attacked the 3 earthly sovereign evil spirits. Amazing! This is the real phoenix fire. Bai Mei Sanren, who was in the space hollow, exclaimed in admiration when he saw Night Sorrow use the phoenix fire. At the same time, the 3 earthly sovereign evil spirits, who had been charging at him aggressively, immediately fled as if they had seen snakes and scorpions. Just like what the female ghost had said, they were very afraid of fire. Trying to escape. How is that possible? Merit Trap Array. Divine Origin Trap Array. Fire Beacon Smoke Diagram. Seeing that the 3 earthly sovereign evil spirits were trying to escape, Night Sorrow immediately used his various techniques. At the same time, he used the phoenix fire to launch a fierce attack on one of the earthly sovereign evil spirits. He immediately used the godly spear. This time, the godly spear was filled with a very violent light. Boom! When Night Sorrow's attack hit the earthly sovereign evil spirit's huge body, there was a loud explosion. The earthly sovereign evil spirit was instantly enraged. However, under the illumination of the flames, it couldn't release its original strength. Soon, it was completely killed by Night Sorrow and converted into merit energy. The other 2 earthly sovereign evil spirits had not escaped from the trap array. Night Sorrow used roughly 30 breaths of time to successfully kill all of them and convert them into the power of virtue. Using this method to attack is indeed twice the result with half the effort. The battle is so easy and enjoyable. However, how much has your merit energy increased? Do you have a chance to reach the sovereign level? Bai Mei Sanren asked with a smile in the space hollow. Night Sorrow had fought the battle so easily, so he asked in a relaxed manner. Hearing this, Night Sorrow pondered for a while and said, "After absorbing a few more, I will advance to the level of an upper dominator. I am still quite far away from the sovereign level. It is really difficult to advance the merit energy. I hope that when you walk out of the 100 Spirits sect, you will have the strength to fight against the evil spirit behind the scenes. I definitely can't do it. In the past, I was just a supporting character." Bai Mei Sanren said with a smile. "Let's hope that I can advance my power of virtue to the level of a sovereign." Night Sorrow did some calculations and realized that it was impossible for his virtuous energy to reach the level of an earthly sovereign in the 100 Spirit sect. He only hoped that after he reached the utmost exalted level, he would be able to fight against the evil spirit behind the scenes with the help of the flames. At the very least, he needed to be able to escape from the enemy's grasp. "If you can successfully leave this graveyard, I'm willing to sacrifice myself to you." At this point, White-Browed Wanderer sighed. He was still optimistic about Night Sorrow's chances in the upcoming calamity. He felt that he was the destiny of this era. "Ha! Brother, you don't have to do this. Just an evil spirit, how powerful could it be? You recuperate first, I will continue to battle with the evil spirit." Night Sorrow said and continued forward. Soon, he encountered another earthly sovereign evil spirit. After using a flame attack, he quickly killed it again. After killing this earthly sovereign evil spirit, Knight Sorrow's power of virtue successfully advanced to the level of an upper-level sovereign. Although it was a small advancement, Knight Sorrow felt that his power of virtue was several times stronger, and he felt more comfortable being surrounded by it. Knight Sorrow, congratulations on advancing your power of virtue to the level of an upper-level sovereign. After Bai Mei Sanren, Little 7, and Little 9 finished congratulating him, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's voice suddenly sounded. Weren't you absorbing the heavenly sovereign rules in essence? You're done so quickly. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast spoke. Knight Sorrow was very surprised. This was because the speed at which he absorbed the heavenly sovereign rules in essence back then was extremely slow. However, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast had only disappeared for a short period of time before reappearing. Ha! Perhaps I was born to devour these heavenly sovereign rules in essence. I absorbed them very quickly. Do you have any more? If I absorb another 10 times or so, I can advance to the level of an earthly sovereign. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast said without regard for himself. Can you advance to the level of an earthly sovereign? Then will your primal chaos space become even stronger as your cultivation level increases. After the chaotic heavenly crystal beast finished speaking, Knight Sorrow asked. He had the heavenly sovereign rules in essence on him, but these things were prepared for cultivation, and he was reluctant to give them away. However, if the chaotic heavenly crystal beast could improve the chaotic space, it would play a key role in dealing with the evil spirit behind the scenes. Thinking of this, he was naturally willing. Then it will definitely improve, and it won't be just a little bit. Hearing Knight Sorrow's question, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast said confidently. Okay. I'll believe you this once. I'll give you the resources. I hope you won't disappoint me when the time comes. As Knight Sorrow spoke to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, he gave it a golden spirit. At this time, he only had 3 of these golden spirits left. After giving one away, he still had 2 left. Ha! This grade is much stronger than that blue one. Thank you. When the time comes for you to fight the evil spirit behind the scenes, I'll definitely do my best. After the chaotic heavenly crystal beast said this, it fell silent again. Obviously, it was going to cultivate. After that, Knight Sorrow said to Bai Mei Sanren, Brother, you came from the previous era and are experienced and knowledgeable. Do you know any ways to deal with powerful evil spirits? If we're not strong enough, then we'll have to work on other aspects. I'm really not too sure about this. If I knew, I would have said it long ago. Bai Mei Sanren said helplessly. At this time, Little 7 sighed regretfully and said, if only the 8th level was here. The 3 of us could form a soul-suppressing pagoda and directly suppress that evil spirit. Are the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels that strong when combined? Hearing Little 7's words, Knight Sorrow asked doubtfully. After all, Little 7 and Little 9 were only earthly sovereign-level divine artifacts. Although our 3 levels are all earthly sovereign divine artifacts, when combined, they are very powerful. They will form a heavenly sovereign divine artifact. If all 9 levels combine, it will be an extreme divine artifact. However, Little 9 and I can only combine with the 8th level. There's no way to combine with the other levels. Little 7 said. Let's talk about this in the future. Let's get out of here safely first and then look for Little 8. Knight Sorrow was still very interested in the fact that the combination of the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels could form a heavenly sovereign divine artifact. However, under the oppression of the evil spirit behind the scenes, how could he be in the mood to think about that? That's right. Let's continue fighting. Only by leaving this place alive can we have a future. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Little 9 sighed and said, Actually, I know some clues about Little 8, but let's talk about this in the future. Clan M. Chapter 3089. Good. As long as there are clues. Everything will have to wait until we get through this crisis. Otherwise, everything is just empty talk. Little 9 said slowly. He also understood that the current crisis was not easy to overcome. It was just that even though he and Little 9 could provide some suggestions, they could not play the role of turning the tide. Since no one has any ideas, I will continue to fight. The 7th, 8th, and 9th levels of the Eternal Divine Tower could be combined into a Heavenly Sovereign artifact. However, the 8th level was not in the ancient tomb. Since no one could think of any other solution, Night Sorrow continued to fight with the evil spirits. At this moment, he had already grasped the trick of fire and light attacks. Moreover, his power of merit was also gradually increasing. It was easy to deal with ordinary earthly sovereign evil spirits. 2 years later, Night Sorrow successfully killed the 55th evil spirit. His power of merit had also advanced to half-sovereign, which was the peak of the sovereign realm. He was only one step away from the sovereign realm. However, Night Sorrow, who had thought that he would break through quickly, still had not advanced to the sovereign realm after killing 99 evil spirits in the 100 Spirit sect. There is only one evil spirit left. If I kill it, I will not be able to advance my power of merit to the sovereign realm. I will not be able to fight against the evil spirit behind the scenes. As for the last evil spirit, Yi Shan didn't immediately fight it. Instead, he stopped and talked to Bai Mei Sanren about it. His virtue energy was indeed on the verge of advancing, but it was completely unknown whether it would be able to advance after he killed the last evil spirit. If he was unable to advance after killing the last evil spirit, then the evil spirit behind the scenes would be summoned, and it would absolutely be a tragedy for him. In my opinion, why don't you take a break and try to raise your strength? After all, sharpening the knife will not delay the work of cutting wood. If you are not strong enough and go out rashly, everyone will die. Bai Mei Sanren said. Yes. I have the same idea, but I am afraid that it will take too much of everyone's time. I want to advance to intermediate sovereign here and then fight again. In that case, if my power of merit cannot advance, we will have a chance to escape. However, it will take many years. Night Sorrow said with a frown. At this moment, he was carrying everyone's fate on his shoulders. Now that things had come to a head, he didn't want to take any unnecessary risks. If you say time is important, then it is important. If you say it isn't important, then it isn't important. By the way, how many years do you think you need to cultivate? White-browed Wanderer asked in puzzlement. He knew that the great calamity would arrive in about 10,000 years. If Night Sorrow still couldn't advance to intermediate supreme martial artist within 10,000 years, then everything would be too late. I'm not sure, but it should take at least 1,000 years. Night Sorrow said helplessly as he recalled the difficulty of absorbing the Heavenly Supreme's law and essence. 1,000 years. Although 1,000 years is precious, it is not as important as our lives. Cultivate in peace. I'll protect you. I guarantee that the last remaining evil spirit will not disturb you. Bai Mei Sanren promised to let Night Sorrow out. Little 7, Little 9, and the rest were also released to protect Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, on the other hand, set up a formation and started to cultivate in peace. He was forced to do this because he had no choice. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast absorbed the Heavenly Supreme's law and essence very quickly, but it was very difficult for Night Sorrow to absorb. The progress was very slow. However, overall, it was faster than Night Sorrow expected. After about 500 years, he felt that he was on the verge of advancing. After 600 years, he successfully advanced to intermediate supreme martial artist. In the supreme martial artist realm, he had advanced by a small realm, but Night Sorrow's strength had increased greatly. After successfully advancing, Night Sorrow looked at Bai Mei Sanren and said, "Brother, it was worth it to spend these 600 years. My strength has increased by about 5 times. As for the power of the Divine Spirit, it has increased by about 10 times. Great! The increase of the power of the Divine Spirit is the most important. If the evil spirit behind the scenes wants to possess you, your power of the Divine Spirit will play a crucial role." Bai Mei Sanren and Night Sorrow were completely on the same boat. When he heard that Night Sorrow's strength had increased greatly, he was also happy. It is indeed very important. We have spent so many years in the ancient tomb. We should hurry up. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he put Bai Mei Sanren, Little 7, Little 9, and the rest into the spatial grotto heaven. He continued to move forward and look for the evil spirit guarding the 100 Spirits sect. A few days later, he found it in a lair. It was an evil spirit with a human body and an eagle head. The aura of this evil spirit was almost at the half-step heavenly supreme level, giving people an extremely strong sense of oppression. Seeing Night Sorrow enter the lair, it roared, "If I wasn't trapped in the lair by Master, I would have gone out and killed you long ago. How could I allow you to be so impudent there? Looks like you are much stronger than the other evil spirits. At least your consciousness is clearer." Night Sorrow sized up the evil spirit in front of him and felt that it was not simple. Although it was overflowing with murderous aura, it gave people the feeling that it was in control. It was not like the other evil spirits that had been completely enslaved by the murderous aura. What's the use of consciousness? What I need is power, and you are a great supplement for me. The evil spirit with a human body and an eagle head roared again. It flapped the wings on its back and flew into the air. It spat out a mouthful of purple flames at Night Sorrow. "Dragon of Virtue, out!" Night Sorrow roared and flew into the air. He held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and immediately shot out the Dragon of Virtue. It bombarded the purple flames that the evil spirit spat out. At the same time, he waved the golden heavenly halberd and shot out the fiery demon-subduing flames. He let the phoenix flames burn the entire sky. Ignorant! Do you think that I am afraid of flames like those low-level evil spirits? You are so wrong. The Dragon of Virtue successfully dissolved the purple flames of the evil spirit. However, the phoenix flames that Night Sorrow shot out were directly swallowed by the evil spirit. After swallowing it, the evil spirit smiled maliciously and said, "Pure, it is a great supplement for me. Continue to release the flames, or I will eat you alive. Bastard! Watch me smash your bird head." Night Sorrow did not expect that the flames that he shot out would be swallowed by the evil spirit as a supplement. He was a little angry. He immediately activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret technique. After advancing to the intermediate supremacy level, he could already use the 33 Heavens Battle Secret technique to the fullest. After increasing his strength, Night Sorrow shot out the Divine Finger at the evil spirit. Although this move was not as powerful as the Divine Spear, it was faster. Night Sorrow's finger pierced through one of the evil spirit's wings before it could react, causing it to cry out in pain. "You have hurt me." After its wings were pierced through by the Divine Finger, the evil spirit immediately became furious. Its body also emitted an endless amount of black gas. Clan M. Chapter 3090. This black gas was 100 times stronger than the killing aura of the other evil spirits. Night Sorrow had been affected for hundreds of years even though he had the power of merit protecting his body. He felt extremely uncomfortable. Night Sorrow thought to himself, "Looks like I have to end this battle quickly. If this drags on for too long, I'm afraid my mind will be affected." The corrosion of the evil aura in front of him was too severe. When he fought, he felt that his mind was very irritable. If he did not suppress it with all his might, he would have gone completely crazy. You won't live for more than 2 hours. The evil spirit that had completely released the black gas no longer took the initiative to attack after the black gas took effect. Instead, it was locked in a stalemate with Night Sorrow. It was prepared to let the black gas naturally corrode Night Sorrow. He would become a walking corpse that could not control himself. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "You won't live for more than 20 breaths." After saying this, Night Sorrow took out the fire beacon smoke diagram and summoned Little 7 and Little 9. He asked the two of them to help attack the evil spirit in front of him. Then, he used the Divine Vitality Trapping Array on the evil spirit and used the Qingxian Divine Spear technique. Under the situation where he was extremely irritable, he launched a crazy attack on it. In the beginning, the evil spirit thought that Night Sorrow had become so arrogant because he was affected by the black gas. After fighting for a while, it realized that this was Night Sorrow's intention. Yi Shan wanted to kill him instantly in the midst of the storm. "You want to kill me in less than 20 breaths? Your way of thinking is too childish." The eagle-headed evil spirit realized what Yi Shan wanted to do and immediately laughed sinisterly. His laughter was, in fact, the terrifying cry of a ghost. It made people shudder when they heard it. However, this did not affect Night Sorrow's mind at all. At this moment, Night Sorrow only had one thought in his mind. That was to quickly kill the evil spirit in front of him. He knew that the longer he waited, the more obvious the corrosion of the black gas would be. Then, even if he could leave 100 Spirit Sect, he would be greatly affected when he fought with the evil spirit behind the scenes. Die. Under the situation where the evil spirit with a human body and an eagle head was on the defensive, Night Sorrow performed the Qingxian Godly Spear technique and continuously used the Godly Finger. This level of attack was already the craziest attack he had ever launched. It was as if he had used all of his strongest attacks. He's clearly just an intermediate exalt. Why is his attack so powerful? The eagle-headed evil spirit that was fighting Night Sorrow was astonished when Night Sorrow completely unleashed his power. At the same time, he summoned a robe from the space grotto heaven. After the robe was summoned, it immediately covered an area of 1,000 feet around him. From the looks of it, it was like an additional layer of protection. Break. Facing the protective layers summoned by the evil spirit, Night Sorrow directly used the golden heavenly halberd to unleash the divine spear and penetrated it. With its defenses penetrated, the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit instantly panicked. He didn't expect Night Sorrow's attack to reach such a level. There was no way he could block such an attack. At this moment, the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit began to think about its various methods. After thinking for a while, it suddenly exploded all the black feathers on its wings, turning them into black gas. With the addition of the black gas, Night Sorrow, who was already affected by the black gas, suddenly felt even more uncomfortable. His eyes, which were originally clear and bright, turned red in the blink of an eye. His whole person also became even more manic. No! I have to kill him in an instant. Otherwise, this murderous aura will make me lose my mind. Night Sorrow knew that this black gas was getting more and more terrifying. It was already so terrifying that it could penetrate his power of merit defense. Therefore, the battle with this human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit must not be dragged on. At the crucial moment, Night Sorrow began to burn his own bloodline, increasing his strength by another step. Then, it merged with the golden heavenly halberd. Suddenly, it bombarded the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit. This move, Night Sorrow combined the essence of many unique skills. It was fast, accurate, ruthless and stable. The human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit had no way to dodge at all. Realizing that this move was too fast to dodge, the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit immediately activated a defensive secret treasure on its body at the same time as it attacked, wanting to defend against this attack. However, all of this was futile. Night Sorrow, who had advanced to middle-level supreme martial artist, the attack power now was not something it could resist at all. Using the method of breaking all techniques with one force, it directly pierced through its chest. After piercing through the evil spirit's chest, Night Sorrow did not give it a chance to recover or escape at all. He continued to attack fiercely like a storm. Under his incomparably crazy attacks, the black gas around the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit became fainter and fainter. In the end, it gradually lost its resistance and turned into golden power of merit. After absorbing the power of merit of the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit, Night Sorrow's power of merit advanced to lower-level supreme martial artist as he wished. It was almost catching up to his cultivation. This was his greatest gain in the ancient tomb in front of him. It was even greater than the advancement of his cultivation. Purify. After Night Sorrow killed the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit, he began to use the power of merit to purify the black gas around his body. Although the evil spirit just now was not as strong as him in terms of strength, that kind of black gas was very deadly. After purifying the black gas, Night Sorrow said worriedly, "The evil spirit in front of us in the Lark sect is already so terrifying with the black gas around him. When we leave the Lark sect and fight fiercely with the evil spirit behind the scenes, what kind of black gas will he release? We'll deal with it when the time comes. Anyway, when the time comes, we'll fight side by side. Let's strive to completely kill the evil spirit behind the scenes." After Night Sorrow recovered, Bai Mei Sanren said. Beside him, Chen Qingyun sighed and said, "It's a pity that my strength is too weak. Otherwise, I would definitely do my part. It's good that you have the heart. The evil spirit behind the scenes is too strong. When he fights, you can't even stand steadily." Bai Mei Sanren said with a smile. He knew how terrifying a heavenly sovereign was. Although the evil spirit behind the scenes was not a true heavenly sovereign, his strength had already surpassed that of a half-step heavenly sovereign. He was also a very terrifying existence. The evil spirit in front of us is already so difficult to deal with. The one behind the scenes must be even more difficult to deal with. I want to deduce a unique skill here. Then, we'll leave the Lark sect. At this time, Night Sorrow said again. He then continued, "As for you guys, you can look around the Lark sect and see if you can find any opportunities. Now, for us, anything that can increase our strength is very important." "Okay. Let's go and look around." Bai Mei Sanren immediately replied. The space in front of them was pitch black. They had fought all the way here and had not properly looked around to see what was around them. Chapter 3091. He had fought his way through the 100 Spirit sect and finally killed his way out. Even the last guardian had been killed by him. Night Sorrow felt that there should be no more dark creatures here. Although the darkness was still there, the fog and the darkness had dissipated and would no longer corrode their souls. It should be fine for them to search for something. As for Whitebrow Wanderer and Chen Qingyun, they had left Yi Shang's position and were in the 100 Spirit sect. They held fluorescent stones in their hands and relied on the weak light to slowly search in the darkness. Both of them were rather nervous. Thus, they were more cautious as they walked, and their speed was very slow. Even so, in the end, the two of them still searched the entire 100 Spirit sect. This was because Night Sorrow had used 30 years to deduce the unique skill. They found that the 100 Spirit sect was actually in the shape of a door. However, there was no big exit at the bottom and it was sealed. Night Sorrow's position was at that point, which was the only exit. As for opportunities, they did not find anything. However, they found a few stone carvings on the stone wall of the 100 Spirit sect. Bai Mei Sanren and Qin Qingyun did not understand what was going on with these 5 stone carvings. They had been waiting for Night Sorrow. They waited for Night Sorrow to walk out of the state of deducing the unique skill. Bai Mei Sanren immediately said, "Brother Night Sorrow, have you been able to deduce the unique skill in the past few decades? It has been rather smooth. I have gained quite a lot. However, I am afraid that it will not be easy to fight against the evil spirit behind the scenes." Night Sorrow said truthfully. In the past 30 years, he had been deducing the unique skill of movement and strengthening his spiritual soul. He knew that if the evil spirit behind the scenes wanted to possess him and his spiritual soul was not strong enough, it was likely that he would be successfully possessed. However, he did not have a suitable spiritual soul secret skill. Hence, he did not gain much. As for the unique skill of movement, he had gained experience from the Xian Tian's secret shadow and some of the movement skills that he had mastered. He deduced the Xian Tian 8 steps that was suitable for him. When he executed the 8 steps of mysterious heaven, Night Sorrow would appear like 8 illusory figures in the eyes of others, making it impossible to tell which was the real one. Under his control, the 8 illusory figures were able to scatter freely, making it difficult for others to determine which one was the real one. This was the escape plan Night Sorrow had prepared for himself. When he encountered the evil spirit behind the scenes, if the evil spirit was too strong, then he would try his best to avoid fighting it. He would scatter into 8 figures and flee on his own, hoping to escape the evil spirit's pursuit. On the other hand, Bai Mei Sanren heard from Night Sorrow that the derivation of the secret art was going smoothly. After congratulating him, he continued, "Qingyun and I found 5 sets of time in the 100 Spirits sect. We don't know what they are. Do you want to go and take a look?" 5th Vice Captain. "Good. I'll go take a look." Then, Night Sorrow brought Little 7, Little 9, the Restriction Breaker Hammer, Bai Mei Sanren, and Qin Qingyun to the first painting. This stone inscription was very simple. It was a very primitive pattern. There were flowers, birds, fish, and insects carved on it. In the beginning, Night Sorrow did not see any clues. However, after he activated the sea serpent's eye, he immediately realized that this stone inscription was not simple. When he used the sea serpent's eye to look at it, he realized that the flowers, birds, fish, and insects on the stone had come alive. They swam around the stone wall, forming marks one after another. "What is this? It looks like an array diagram." Night Sorrow observed quietly for about 2 hours before the flowers, birds, fish, and insects completely stopped. He realized that the things outlined by the flowers, birds, fish, and insects looked like array diagrams. However, the diagram was incomplete, so he could not see any clues. Hence, he said, "Take me to the next stone inscription." "All right. Let's go." Qin Qingyun replied to Night Sorrow and led Night Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren towards the next stone inscription he had discovered. When he arrived at this stone inscription, Night Sorrow saw the same scene again. However, the array diagram that appeared was completely different. The two did not seem to be directly related. Next one. Then, Night Sorrow went to look at the remaining 3 paintings. After he finished looking at them, he copied everything he saw on the ground and tried to combine them like a puzzle. After more than 6 years of deliberation, Night Sorrow finally pieced the 5 paintings together perfectly. When the 5 paintings were pieced together, headless cows immediately appeared. These 5 oxen were not ordinary water buffaloes, but 5 extremely handsome oxen. They gave off a very powerful feeling. However, Night Sorrow could not tell what use they had. Hence, he spoke to Bai Mei Sanren and Qin Qingyun. "If you don't know what it's used for, then set it up and try it out." After Night Sorrow finished talking about the array diagram, Bai Mei Sanren immediately said with a smile. He also said that he was willing to be a test subject. After the array was completed, he was willing to enter it and try it out. That's right. Brother Yi, try setting it up and you'll know everything. Chen Qingyun also echoed and said that as long as he had the materials, he would contribute them. After they finished speaking, Little 7, Little 9, and the restriction-breaking hammer all agreed with him setting it up. All right. Since you all say so, then I'll try to set up this array. After everyone finished speaking, Night Sorrow felt that setting up the array was not difficult anyway, so he decided to give it a try. Then, with everyone's help, he set up the array diagram. When the array diagram was set up, Bai Mei Sanren immediately said, I'm going in. After I enter, immediately activate the array. Let's see what happens. All right. If there are any abnormalities, just tell me. I'll immediately stop the array. Night Sorrow said and gestured to Bai Mei Sanren. Then, Bai Mei Sanren walked into the array. I'm activating it. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the array was immediately activated. The 5 oxen that had appeared before appeared again. What are these 5 oxen doing? Are they going to attack Brother Bai Mei? Chen Qingyun, who was watching from the side, said doubtfully. Bai Mei Sanren, who was in the array, had been in a trance. He could feel that the 5 oxen in front of him were not ordinary. Moo! 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 Just as Bai Mei Sanren was alerted, the 5 oxen immediately cried out. In an instant, Bai Mei Sanren felt his divine ocean tremble. His divine soul was about to be shattered, and he could not even send a voice transmission. He immediately gestured to Night Sorrow to indicate that he could not withstand the sound wave attack. Brother, you seem to be injured. Seeing Bai Mei Sanren's abnormal expression, Night Sorrow immediately stopped the array. He asked with concern, Brother, how are you? Are you okay? If you had stopped it a little later, I would have been in trouble. The cries of these 5 oxen are a very powerful divine soul attack. I can't withstand it at all. Bai Mei Sanren said with a pale face. At this moment, he could still feel his divine soul trembling. Clan M. Chapter 3092. Divine Soul Attack. What we lack the most now is divine soul attacks. You're really getting whatever you lack. Hearing Bai Mei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow immediately felt that their group's luck was off the charts. What they lacked the most now was divine soul attacks. Now that they had this 5 bulls formation, they had an additional chance of winning against the evil spirit behind the scenes. Why do I feel that this is too much of a coincidence? Chen Qingyun said with a smile. He felt that this was completely like opening one's mouth and reaching out one's hand for clothes. The array formation came too suddenly. At this moment, Bai Mei Sanren smiled and said, this might be luck. Brother Night Sorrow is a person of great luck, so he has received the favor of the heavens. At his critical moment, the 5 bulls diagram descended from the heavens. It helped him resolve the crisis. What's the point of thinking so much? As long as the effect is good, it's fine. Night Sorrow said and personally entered the array formation. He activated the array formation and let the 5 bulls attack him. With this test, Night Sorrow immediately heard a voice that was not quite the same as Bai Mei Sanren's. Although it was also the roar of a bull. But it was mixed with a shocking sound of thunder. Being attacked by this sound of thunder, Night Sorrow immediately felt his divine sea tremble. In a moment, he could not withstand it and hurriedly stopped the array formation. This kind of attack is really powerful. I can't withstand it for a while at all. No matter how strong the evil spirit behind the scenes is, it can't withstand the attack of this array formation when it's possessing me. After Night Sorrow felt the power of the 5 bulls formation, an idea arose in his heart. He said, let's wait for the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast to break through now, and then we can try to fight with that existence. Alright. Then we'll wait in peace. Come, let's go through thick and thin together. This is also fate. Since there's nothing to do, let's have a drink. At this time, Baimei Sanren, who did not cultivate at all, took out wine and dishes from his spatial artifact. Alright. Let's drink to our heart's content. Night Sorrow took a wine gourd and drank with the two of them. In the following years, everyone was more relaxed. Night Sorrow had been studying the 5 bowls diagram. As for Baimei Sanren and Qinqingyun, they were playing chess non-stop. When they were tired from playing chess, the two of them would have a drink. Just like that, 8 years passed. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast finally sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, "Let me out. I'm about to face the earthly sovereign lightning tribulation." Haha. Had he finally broken through? Good. I'll protect you. Night Sorrow released the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and set up some array formations around it. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast's body was enormous. In comparison, Night Sorrow was as small as an ant. Thus, it took a little longer to set up the formation. The array formation was only halfway set up when the lightning tribulation body of the chaotic heavenly crystal beast had already descended. Then, the two behemoths fought like ancient behemoths. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast's tribulation transcendence method was similar to Night Sorrow's. It did not use attrition tactics at all. It just clashed head-on with the other party. After fighting for 5 days and 5 nights, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast successfully defeated the lightning tribulation body and completely ascended to the earthly sovereign realm. Haha! I'm finally an earthly sovereign. After successfully transcending the tribulation, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast roared excitedly. Congratulations, you've gotten what you wanted. Not long after getting to know the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast said that it wanted to follow Night Sorrow and advance to earthly sovereign. It had only been a few years, and it had successfully advanced. Night Sorrow was truly happy for it. I have to thank you for the resources you provided. Thank you. Thank you. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast thanked him sincerely. He knew that if not for Night Sorrow, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens for him to advance to earthly sovereign. You're too polite. After Baimei Sanren and Qinqingyun congratulated the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice, "I have an idea, and that is to set up a 5 bowls formation in your chaotic space. When the time comes, we'll fight the evil spirit behind the scenes. As long as we suck it into your space and let it enter the 5 bowls formation, we'll have a high chance of winning." Oh. There's such a way of setting it up. Will that work? When the chaotic heavenly crystal beast heard Night Sorrow's words, it immediately felt that it was a fantasy. We'll know if it works after giving it a try. It shouldn't do you any harm. Night Sorrow said and continued, "We're in a very dangerous situation now. We have to try any method to increase our chances of winning." Alright. Then give it a try. Don't break my chaotic space. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast thought about it and agreed in the end. Alright. Let me in. Yishang said as he was sucked into the primal chaos space. Arriving here, he began to set up the 5 bowls formation and soon finished setting up the formation. It made the entire chaotic space covered by the 5 bowls formation. After experimenting for a while, Night Sorrow said with a smile, "Very good. It's even stronger than the one on the ground. There doesn't seem to be any discomfort." When Night Sorrow activated the 5 bowls formation, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast did not feel any discomfort. This also dispelled his worries. Next, let's recover a little and we can leave this 100 Spirits sect. Night Sorrow looked at Baimei Sanren, Qinqingyun, and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and said, "The following battle will be very dangerous, and there's even a possibility of dying. Do you guys have anything else to say? The path of cultivation is originally going against the heavens. Even if we die, it's nothing." Bai Mei Sanren smiled indifferently and did not take it seriously. Chen Qingyun said with a gloomy expression, "Actually, I don't care about life or death, but I really want to save my family." "All right. If we can successfully get out of here, we'll take the lead to find your family," Night Sorrow said as he patted Chen Qingyun's shoulder. Then, he sent a voice transmission to Little 7 and Little 9 and said, "Help him save his family, and then we'll go find Little 8 together." "All right. We're not in a hurry," Little 7 and Little 9 replied in unison. They were divine artifacts and had plenty of time. They did not care about time. "All right. Everything that needs to be prepared has been prepared. Let's leave this 100 Spirits sect. For safety's sake, Brother Whitebrow and Brother Chin, you guys temporarily enter my space grotto heaven. If there's a need, I'll let you out." Night Sorrow thought for a moment and decided to let the two of them enter his space grotto heaven. They would only fight with the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. All right. Bai Mei Sanren and Chen Qingyun knew that their strength was limited, so they did not refute. Then, Night Sorrow left the 100 Spirit sect with the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. After walking out of the 100 Spirit sect, they immediately entered a spacious hall. This hall was very spacious, but it gave off an extremely gloomy feeling. With a slight perception, one could feel a strong aura of death and a strong murderous aura. "I've been waiting for you." At this moment, a gloomy voice was suddenly heard. Chapter 3093. You're the evil spirit behind the 100 Spirit sect. Night Sorrow activated the sea serpent's eye and immediately saw a figure about 10 times taller than an ordinary person not far in front of him. This figure was currently staring at him with scarlet eyes. That gaze was as if it was examining its prey, as if it was going to attack and devour him in the next second. Evil spirit. Yes, I'm an evil spirit. But after you appeared, I'll soon be rid of my identity as an evil spirit. And your body will completely belong to me. There was no expression on the evil spirit's face. However, it gave off the feeling of a sinister smile, which made one shudder. Hearing this, Night Sorrow sneered and said, "If you want to possess me, you need to have that ability." At the same time, he used his divine spirit power to check his surroundings and found that this space had already been sealed by a formation. There was no possibility of him escaping directly at all, so he could only choose to fight the other party to the death. If you had the strength of an Earth Supreme, I would consider whether there was a possibility of failure. But you're only an intermediate Supreme, so you have no ability to resist in front of me. The evil spirit was not in a hurry to attack. This was not because he was talking too much nonsense, but because he was imperceptibly exerting pressure on Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow could naturally see this, but he was already someone who had experienced hundreds of battles, so why would he care about this? He sneered and said, "If you want to attack, then hurry up and do it. Your so-called verbal pressure is like child's play to me." Good. You have some backbone. Today, only one of us can walk out of this ancient tomb. How many years has it been? I've waited for several reincarnations, and finally, I've waited for you. The evil spirit laughed wantonly and roared, "Prepare to accept your fate. Today, I'll destroy your divine spirit." Facing the evil spirit in front of him, Night Sorrow's strength was slightly weaker, but this evil spirit obviously spoke more nonsense. This gave him and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast a chance. After roaring, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Don't give him a chance to attack. Directly suck him into the chaotic space. If you let him attack, you might not even be able to withstand a single move. Good. I'm already brewing. I'm just waiting for your word. Knight Sorrow knew that the evil spirit definitely did not want anyone to disturb him when he used possession. It was very likely that he would directly destroy the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Therefore, he immediately let the chaotic heavenly crystal beast attack first. Just as the evil spirit was about to attack, he was sucked into the chaotic space. What's this? After being sucked into the primal chaos space, the evil spirit that was about to attack was astonished. Originally, he thought that he had an absolute advantage in terms of strength, and that Knight Sorrow and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast couldn't pose any threat to him at all. Who would have thought that before he could even make a move, he would be sucked into a strange space? Just as the evil spirit was about to attack the primal chaos space, Knight Sorrow also entered. He looked at the evil spirit and said, "As you said, only one of us can walk out of here today. Appearing in front of me again is your biggest mistake." At the same time, after his divine soul left the evil spirit's body, that evil spirit's body suddenly started attacking crazily in the chaotic space. It turned out that this evil spirit still had this kind of ability. This was something that Knight Sorrow and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast did not expect. Knight Sorrow, you have to quickly destroy the evil spirit's divine soul to resist the evil spirit's body. Otherwise, my chaotic space will be broken by its power very soon. Being bombarded by the evil spirit's body, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately felt that the chaotic space was in danger of being hammered apart. He sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow anxiously. "Don't worry. I'll finish it off as soon as possible." Knight Sorrow, who was currently being possessed, also burned his own bloodline power while activating the Treistrimsa Heaven's Battle Mystic technique. He also let the power of merit wrap around his body. Even so, he could still feel the huge gap between him and the evil spirit's divine soul. If this continued, his divine sea would be taken over. Naturally, it was not a solution. Knight Sorrow immediately activated the 5 bulls formation. Moo! 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 After the formation was activated, a loud bull's roar immediately sounded. What kind of method is this? Having his divine soul attacked by the 5 bulls formation, the evil spirit immediately felt that something was amiss and roared in puzzlement. In reality, the evil spirit was a true heavenly supreme when he was alive. At this time, the divine soul was born in the body after the fall. After tens of millions of years of cultivation, he had his current achievements. Therefore, the strength of his body was at the heavenly supreme level. However, his divine soul was only at the half-step heavenly supreme level. This was originally a little stronger than Knight Sorrow's divine soul, but after being roared by the 5 bulls, his strength immediately decreased greatly. Before he could completely react, Knight Sorrow immediately launched a divine soul attack on him. What he used was the dragon roar and phoenix cry. This was the result of decades of deliberation, and it was much more powerful than the gentle dragon roar. Among them, there was the power of the Azure Sea, and the attack was very surging. Damn it! You will die today without a doubt. The evil spirit's divine soul became abnormally weak under the attack of the 5 bulls formation. It was no longer stronger than Knight Sorrow's divine soul. At this time, being bombarded by the dragon roar and phoenix cry, he immediately felt very uncomfortable and was completely suppressed. The divine soul in front of him was in danger of being destroyed. The evil spirit immediately controlled his body and started attacking crazily in the chaos space. At this time, the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast sent an urgent voice transmission to Knight Sorrow. "Hurry up and kill him, I can't hold on for more than 10 breaths. His body is at the Heavenly Supreme level, I really can't withstand it. Don't worry. I'll destroy his divine soul very soon." At the same time that Night Sorrow responded to the Chaos Heavenly Crystal Beast, he started using the power of merit to purify the evil spirit's divine soul. After being purified by the power of merit, the evil spirit's divine soul, which was already very uncomfortable, immediately became like a grasshopper thrown into a pot of oil. He could not remain calm at all. At the same time, his body started attacking the chaos space even more crazily. He started wreaking havoc in the Five Bulls formation. This evil spirit's body was wreaking havoc. Before Night Sorrow could think of a way, the Five Bulls formation immediately produced 5 different roars. Moo. Me. Ma. And I. Moo. When these 5 bull roars came out, the evil spirit's divine soul that was resisting Night Sorrow was unexpectedly directly destroyed. It happened so suddenly that Night Sorrow did not even have time to react. The evil spirit's divine soul was destroyed by 5 bull roars just like that. Night Sorrow said in disbelief that the confrontation ended so quickly. This battle was much easier than he had imagined. The main thing was that the 5 Bulls formation's attack was seriously too powerful, far beyond his imagination. At this time, he found the evil spirit's body and continued to rely on instinct to destroy the chaos space. How could Night Sorrow be willing to let him be presumptuous? Soon, he released the power of merit and completely destroyed some of the remnant souls in the evil spirit's body. Clan M. Chapter 3094. When the soul in the evil spirit's body was completely destroyed, the heavenly supreme level body immediately lost control and fell to the ground. Night Sorrow was sure that it had no ability to resist, so he let the chaotic heavenly crystal beast release all of them. After being released by the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, Little Seven immediately said, "Night Sorrow, give this body to me to devour. I can transform it into a large amount of heavenly supreme level nomological laws and essence, which can help you increase your strength quickly." No. This body still has a very important use. When Yishang heard Little Seven's words, he immediately refused. Why? What else is more important than increasing strength? Little Seven asked in confusion. If I'm not wrong, this body can not only be used for fighting, but it can also be used to help us hide our identities in the fog. Next, when we help Brother Chen save people, we will definitely come into contact with the cultivators in the fog. The evil aura around us is too little, so it's easy to expose our identities. But with this body in front of us, it's completely different. No one should be able to see through it. Night Sorrow said slowly. Hearing this, Little Seven continued, "It seems that it can be done like this. You're more meticulous. But you're going to control this body." "Yes. How do we control it to fight?" Bai Mei Sanren also asked in confusion when he heard Night Sorrow's words. "I'm going to refine this body into my own clone. This way, we can usually hide in the clone. We can use the clone to walk in the fog." Night Sorrow continued to speak while observing the evil spirit's body with the sea serpent's eye. Ah. Refine the evil spirit into a clone. This. Bai Mei Sanren thought for a moment and felt that Night Sorrow's actions were a little rash, but he couldn't think of a way to refute it after thinking for a long time. Then, he thought that there was nothing wrong with refining this thing into a clone. After all, this was the body of a heavenly supreme level, and its defensive power was quite astonishing. When Little Seven and Little Nine heard Night Sorrow's words, they all supported him and praised him for his ideas. At this moment, Night Sorrow said, "It's just an idea at the moment, but I'll try it immediately to see if it works. Generally speaking, if an ordinary person in the Eternal Supreme World refines an evil spirit into a clone, their soul will definitely be corroded. But I have the power of merit protecting me, so I should be able to resist this impact. Next, I'll try it and see if it works." After speaking, Night Sorrow began refining the evil spirit's clone. In about a year's time, the evil spirit clone was completely refined. Night Sorrow's clone, Night Sorcerer's body had a clone to the heavenly Supreme clone. Even though White Brow Wanderer and the others knew that Night Sorrow was controlling the avatar, they couldn't see any clues. They believed that the other people in the fog wouldn't be able to see it either. Since you've controlled the clone, can brother Yi leave this place and help me save my wife? When Night Sorrow Heavenly Supremess, Chen Qingyun immediately asked in a pleading tone. Of course we have to save her. But we need to search this evil spirit's lair first to see if there are any resources. Night Sorrow Heavenly Supremess smiled and began to search the tomb. In the end, they spent a month and found a lot of misty heavenly Ganoderma and other resources. This misty heavenly Ganoderma contained the heavenly supreme level laws in essence. It was a great tonic, but it was tainted by the murderous aura. But in front of Night Sorrow, all of this was not a problem. He directly used the power of merit to purify these misty heavenly Ganoderma and distribute them to everyone. Including the restriction-breaking hammer, everyone had a share. As for the other items and resources, they did not study them carefully and left the tomb. When they left, everyone, including Night Sorrow Heavenly Supremess, entered the evil spirit space. The evil spirit's clone rushed on the journey. As they had just entered the evil spirit space, they did not know where they were. Therefore, the first thing they did was to search for a city in the foggy area. According to Chen Qingyun, there were even more cities in the foggy area than in the Eternal Supreme World. Therefore, they spent 3 months to find a city. This city was hidden in the fog, but after entering it, everything became clear. It looked similar to the cities in the Eternal Supreme World. There were all kinds of pavilions and towers. However, the cultivators in the city all exuded a murderous aura. They didn't seem to be kind people. However, this was a small city and there were no heavenly supremes in the city. Night Sorrow Heavenly Supremess could do whatever he wanted. There was no one who dared to provoke him. Soon, the evil spirit's clone controlled by Night Sorrow Heavenly Supremess obtained a map of the foggy area from a shop. According to the markings on the map, this city was called Ji-Chi City, and it was the closest city to the Eternal Supreme World. It was a long distance away from the Cloud Breath mining area where Chen Qingyun's wife was. If they were to rush there, it would take many years. Using the teleportation array required the currency of the foggy area, blackthorn crystals. Moreover, it required a huge amount. Night Sorrow and the rest naturally did not have such blackthorn crystals. After studying it, everyone thought to themselves, what should they do? If they did not have it, they would just rob it. In any case, fighting was inevitable in the foggy area. However, in the city, they definitely could not fight. This was the rules set by the 3 Supreme Realm experts in the foggy area. Therefore, Night Sorrow Heavenly Supremess controlled the evil spirit's clone and left the city in front of them. He began his life of robbery in the foggy area. After robbing for almost a year, he finally gathered enough blackthorn crystals to head to the next city. He did not obtain much blackthorn crystals, but his power of merit increased by a lot. He found that killing cultivators of the same level in the foggy area increased his power of merit more than killing evil spirits. After that, the cultivators in the small city in front of him heard that there were hunters outside the city. Most of them did not dare to go out anymore. There was no point in continuing to hunt. Night Sorrow Heavenly Supremess controlled the evil spirit's clone and headed to the next city. Treasure Butcher City. This Treasure Butcher City was dozens of times bigger than Ji-Chi City. Furthermore, there was a Heavenly Supreme City Lord. The order in and outside the city was much more stable than Ji-Chi City. If he continued to hunt cultivators in the foggy area like in Ji-Chi City, he would be targeted by a Heavenly Supreme easily. Therefore, Knight Sorrow Heavenly Supremess changed his strategy of obtaining blackthorn crystals this time. He was prepared to take the risk and go to the arena with his real body. He would win enough blackthorn crystals through battle and teleport directly to the Cloud Breath mining area. Because if he used the evil spirit's clone, he would not be able to find a suitable opponent at all. Even if he found one, Knight Sorrow Heavenly Supremess was not a match for a Heavenly Supreme. Before deciding to take action, Knight Sorrow Heavenly Supremess made a lot of preparations. He let his aura be completely tainted by the aura of the foggy area and only let his spirit be clear. This way, it would be difficult for him to be discovered. Clan M. Chapter 3095. The arena in the foggy area had a different name from the arena in the Eternal Supreme World or the Realm of Gods. It was also different in nature. The arena in Boundless City was called the Arena of Life and Death. It was an industry controlled by the city lord. Cultivators of the same level could fight in the arena. Every battle was a battle of life and death. The winner would take away 90% of the opponent's chips. The remaining 10% would be taken by the city lord. If the cultivators who participated in the arena of life and death won 10 or 20 consecutive victories, they would be rewarded accordingly by the city lord. As for the reward for 100 consecutive victories, it was naturally even more. It was almost an astronomical figure. But no one had ever won 100 consecutive victories. There were quite a few people who won 99 consecutive victories. It should be the city lord's mansion who was secretly controlling this. After all, the city lord's mansion had to fork out the reward for obtaining 100 consecutive victories. After preparing for the arena of life and death, Knight Sorrow found a half-heavenly supreme divine artifact from the evil spirit's assets and exchanged it for 50,000 blackthorn crystals at a chamber of relics. Such a price was very unscrupulous. But it was the market price in the foggy area. People in the foggy area were naturally bloodthirsty and greedy. The price of doing business was never fair. And going to the Cloud Breath mining area required about 1.5 million blackthorn crystals. It was a sky-high price. Even if Knight Sorrow used up all the resources he had, he might not be able to get enough blackthorn crystals in the foggy area. It's not easy to win 1.5 million blackthorn crystals with 50,000 blackthorn crystals. Brother Yi, it's been hard on you. After leaving the shop, Chen Qingyun sent a message to Knight Sorrow. He felt that Knight Sorrow had sacrificed too much because of his wife. Brother Qin, you're welcome. Fighting with the cultivators in the foggy area can also improve my understanding of them. It's very valuable. Knight Sorrow replied with a smile. The cultivators in the Eternal Supreme World did not know much about the cultivators in the foggy area. In the future war, they would definitely be in a passive position. Knight Sorrow also wanted to learn more about the cultivators in the foggy area through the arena of life and death. No matter what, I still have to thank Brother Yi. There is nothing I can do to repay you. In the future, Qingyun is willing to follow Brother Yi and be at your beck and call without complaint. Chen Qingyun said excitedly. For Knight Sorrow, this was a training experience, but for him, this was a very important matter. Haha. They were all friends, so there was no need to say such things. We aren't too clear about the rules of the life and death ring. Next, I'll go and ask. Sign me up. Knight Sorrow was a forthright person, and Chen Qingyun could be considered as his living map. He was quite grateful for this. He felt that helping the other party with this matter was nothing much, so he had no intention of taking credit for it. With that, Yi Shang led everyone in the Grotto Heaven to the only life and death arena in Boundless City. Just as they approached the life and death arena, they heard an incomparably resounding roar. The cultivators in the foggy area roared like wild beasts when they watched the battle. If it were an ordinary cultivator from the foggy region, they would have been intimidated by such a scene. But Night Sorrow was not. Hearing the beast-like roars of the cultivators in the foggy area, his battle intent rose immediately. When they arrived at the arena of life and death, Night Sorrow quickly found the registration area. After asking around, he found out that the battles for the sovereign level were very rare, and would only appear once every few years. Under normal circumstances, it would be for the earthly sovereign level. For the earthly sovereign level battles, the wager would be at least 20,000 blackthorn crystals, and there was no upper limit. How can this be? Without the sovereign level battles, when will we be able to accumulate more than 1 million blackthorn crystals? Hearing the receptionist's words, Chen Qingyun, who was in the space, immediately said in distress. But at this moment, he said, I should have thought of this problem. Most of the cultivators in the foggy area are at the earthly sovereign level. Even half-step earthly sovereigns like me are very rare. Not to mention ordinary sovereigns. Brother Chin, don't worry. I'll participate in the earthly sovereign level battles directly. Night Sorrow comforted Chen Qingyun through telepathy, then looked at the receptionist and said, Can I participate in the earthly sovereign level battles as an earthly sovereign? Hee hee. If you're not afraid of death, you can even participate in the heavenly sovereign level battles. But the prerequisite is that your wager can catch the eye of others. Let others feel that you're worth it. The receptionist's strength was at the lower earthly sovereign level. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, he immediately laughed coldly. That kind of laughter was as if he thought Night Sorrow was a fool. Night Sorrow did not care about that at all. He directly took out 50,000 blackthorn crystals and said, I want to battle with the earthly sovereign. This is my wager. Is it enough? Oh. 50,000 blackthorn crystals? That's a pretty good wager. Are you sure you won't regret it? When Night Sorrow took out 50,000 blackthorn crystals, the receptionist's eyes immediately lit up. A normal battle between earthly sovereigns would basically have 10,000 blackthorn crystals as the wager. At this moment, Night Sorrow wanted to wager 50,000 blackthorn crystals, which was not a small amount. Moreover, a middle earthly sovereign dared to challenge an earthly sovereign in the arena of life and death. This would definitely attract the attention of others. He was sure that if he could handle this matter well, he would definitely receive a reward from the higher-ups. Of course I won't regret it. Take the blackthorn crystals, but I hope that you can guarantee that I won't lose a single one of them. Do you understand what I mean? Night Sorrow looked at the receptionist and said fiercely. He knew that there were no good people in the foggy area. The receptionist in front of him would very likely deduct a portion of the 50,000 blackthorn crystals. Humph. Not a single one of them. You sure know how to dream. I can give you 40,000 blackthorn crystals, that's already enough. The receptionist said disdainfully to Night Sorrow and asked him to wait. He himself went to arrange for Night Sorrow to participate in the arena of life and death. About 2 hours later, the receptionist appeared. He looked at Night Sorrow with a playful expression and said, Your matter is settled. Your opponent is a middle earthly sovereign. The duel will take place in 3 days. Since it's settled, there's no possibility of you backing down. In the next few days, the city governor's mansion will arrange a place for you to stay. Remember, don't even think about running away, or you'll definitely die. I'm here to participate in the duel. Naturally, I won't run away. Night Sorrow glanced at the receptionist, then followed the people from the city governor's mansion into a courtyard. Although it was called a courtyard, it was actually a place they used to monitor the contestants. However, Night Sorrow had no intention of running away at all. Therefore, he peacefully deduced some combat techniques here. The way the practitioners in the foggy area fought was very different from the way the practitioners in the eternal sovereign world fought. Night Sorrow was constantly learning the fighting techniques of the practitioners in the foggy area. In recent battles, he had used the sea serpent's eye to record many such scenes. Therefore, it was quite easy for him to deduce them. He transformed the Qingxian divine spear technique and other techniques into the dark mode. After that, he quietly waited for the summoning of the arena of life and death. When the scheduled day arrived, the people from the city governor's mansion came to pick him up and bring him to the arena of life and death. Chapter 3096. When they arrived at the arena of life and death, Night Sorrow and more than 30 other earthly sovereigns were brought to a dark tunnel. After entering the dark tunnel, Night Sorrow received number 18 and was told that he would be participating in the 9th round. Then, Night Sorrow and some other earthly sovereigns waited for the battle to start. Before the battle started, one of the wolf-faced earthly sovereigns looked at Night Sorrow with disdain. A medium sovereign dares to participate in the arena of life and death for earthly sovereigns? Are you here to die? If you kneel down and beg for mercy now, I can consider not killing you. Night Sorrow used the eye of the sea serpent to observe and found that the wolf-faced earthly sovereign was number 17, his opponent. He sneered. The arena of life and death determines victory and defeat, as well as life and death. Just wait to be torn apart by me. In the foggy area, no one was reserved. When provoked, they would fight back. He didn't hold back at all. Ha! I will eat you up in the arena. The wolf-faced earthly sovereign looked at Night Sorrow with obvious aggression. It was as if he was examining food. Ha! I hope you can do what you say. Night Sorrow looked at him with a cold smile. In his eyes, the other party was also a dead wolf. While they were talking, the first battle outside had already begun. In the end, one of the earthly sovereigns tore the other earthly sovereign apart. The scene was extremely bloody. However, it attracted earth-shaking cheers from the audience. The practitioners in the foggy area loved such bloody scenes. Standing in the dark tunnel, Night Sorrow had been silently observing and learning the habits of the practitioners in the foggy area. After observing 8 rounds in a row, he thoroughly understood the characteristics and habits of the practitioners in the foggy area. When it came to the 9th round, the host first kept the audience guessing. He announced that there would be a medium sovereign participating in the arena of earthly sovereigns today. Knowing that there was a medium sovereign participating in the arena of life and death, many of the audience became curious. Although the practitioners in the foggy area were all bloodthirsty, none of them liked to die. They were all curious about the strength of this medium sovereign. Under the curious gaze of the audience, Night Sorrow slowly walked out of the tunnel. At this time, he was controlling his aura and didn't burst out too strong. Therefore, in the eyes of the audience, he wasn't extraordinary. His opponent, the wolf-faced earthly sovereign, burst out a strong aura from the beginning. Many people thought that this was a one-sided massacre arranged by the city governor's mansion. Boos! Hearing these boos, the wolf-faced earthly sovereign, don't be disappointed. I will let you enjoy the most. It will eat him up in the arena. After he spoke, the bloodthirsty cultivators immediately roared madly. What a bunch of beasts is death! Night Sorrow, who was laughing coldly in his heart, loathed the cultivators in the fog even more. In his opinion, these cultivators had completely lost their humanity and had become slaves to be slaughtered and enslaved. This had already lost the true meaning of cultivation. Even if one's strength was too strong, it was meaningless. At this time, the host saw that the atmosphere had been stirred up and shouted, "The battle begins. Life and death, the battle is over." As for the entertainment, if the audience likes it, the city governor's mansion won't stop it. Boom! Hearing this, the crowd burst into an uproar again. Everyone was already looking forward to the bloody scene. I will tear it apart. I will eat a part of it. I will let you see yourself being eaten alive. The wolf-faced earthly sovereign, after the host announced the start of the battle, howled and attacked Night Sorrow. In his opinion, Night Sorrow was only a medium sovereign and definitely didn't have much combat strength. He didn't use any ultimate skills in his first attack. Night Sorrow didn't use the Golden Heavenly Halberd against him because the aura of the Golden Heavenly Halberd didn't match with the foggy area. Night Sorrow had a black spear in his hand that he got from the evil spirit. This black spear was an earthly sovereign grade divine weapon and was very evil. Night Sorrow waved the spear, and it immediately emitted a thick black gas. If this thick black gas was used to attack the Eternal Sovereign World's cultivators, they might not be able to withstand it. But for the foggy area's cultivators, this was what they liked the most. Facing the wolf-faced earthly sovereign, who didn't use his full strength, Night Sorrow didn't use any strength at all and directly sent him flying with the black spear. Seeing that Night Sorrow had unexpectedly sent the wolf-faced earthly sovereign flying, the audience roared even more wildly than a wolf's howl. Die! Although the wolf-faced earthly sovereign had a human body, he had a wolf head. After being accidentally sent flying, he immediately roared ferociously. After getting up, he howled to the sky and raised his aura by a large margin. Then, his hands, which were originally like a human's, turned into wolf claws covered in black fur. The long wolf claws looked similar to a cultivator's sword blade and emitted a cold light. This pair of wolf claws was his divine weapon. You will be the one to die. Werewolf. Seeing that the opponent in front of him had completely transformed into a werewolf, Night Sorrow waved the black spear in his hand again. He didn't waste any time. After saying that, he blasted out the improved divine spear toward his opponent. This move contained quite a few laws of divine abilities. The power was still very great. Its power was definitely at the level of an earthly sovereign. However, this was Night Sorrow holding back. In fact, a middle earthly sovereign wasn't much of a threat to him. If he used his full strength, he could even contend with a half-step to heavenly sovereign. However, that would require him to use the power of merit. Whoa! In the face of Night Sorrow's attack, the werewolf, who was extremely fast, felt that something was wrong. He didn't choose to take it head-on. Instead, he howled and hid in the huge arena. Seeing that the werewolf was hiding, Night Sorrow didn't immediately kill him. Instead, he pretended that he wasn't as fast as the werewolf and was in a stalemate with him. Seeing that the werewolf had chosen to dodge continuously, some of the audience booed. What do you know? Being booed by the audience, the werewolf smiled coldly. While he was dodging, he suddenly exploded. His body became 3 times bigger and fiercely attacked Night Sorrow. His huge wolf claws flew out of his palms and attacked Night Sorrow. You are quite insidious. However, in the face of absolute strength, you are just child's play. If Night Sorrow's strength was about the same as the werewolf's, he would definitely be at a disadvantage when faced with his sudden explosion. However, Night Sorrow's absolute strength was much stronger than the werewolf's. In the face of his explosion, the black spear in Night Sorrow's hand emitted a cold black light. After blocking all of the werewolf's attacks, he directly inserted the black spear into the werewolf's chest. Chapter 3097. Number 18's Middle Earthly Sovereign pierced through the chest of Number 17's Middle Earthly Sovereign. Could it be that this battle is really going to end with the supreme martial artist crossing realms to obtain victory? Some of the spectators who were paying attention to the scene before them were shocked. Some of the spectators who had bet their blackthorn crystals on the werewolf were extremely upset. However, the werewolf had not actually been killed. After being pierced through the chest by Night Sorrow, he had completely unleashed his ferocious nature and transformed from the werewolf's appearance into the evil werewolf's appearance. His head, which was originally very ferocious, became even more terrifying in an instant. It looked as if he had turned into a zombie. Oh whoa. After transforming into an evil spirit, the werewolf's aura became much stronger. He hurled towards the sky and attacked Night Sorrow crazily. However, although his strength was strong and his speed was very fast, his attacks were not very methodical. He relied on the werewolf's instincts to fight, without the support of unique skills or superpowers. Therefore, although his attacks were ferocious, in Night Sorrow's eyes, they were completely like children playing around. At this time, the spectators saw the werewolf's frenzied attacks and immediately became excited. Most of the spectators had the cultivation of earthly sovereigns, but their horizons were not very high. They all liked to watch a show. Now, the werewolf's frenzied attacks were very enjoyable for them. Since you're enjoying watching, I'll let you watch for a while longer. Although the werewolf's strength had increased in an instant, Night Sorrow was still at ease. Thinking that there would definitely be more battles later, he deliberately held back most of his strength, not wanting the arena of life and death to see through him. Under Night Sorrow's deliberate holding back, the werewolf looked like he still had some fighting power. After being suppressed for about an hour, Night Sorrow felt that there was no need to continue like this, so he chose to create a coincidence and pierced the werewolf's head with the black spear. After the werewolf's head recovered, he directly killed him. I didn't expect that a sovereign like you would have some skills. Some of the spectators who were watching the battle from the periphery saw that the winner was Night Sorrow, and they immediately became excited. They kept shouting. The cultivators in the foggy area give me the feeling that they have lost their minds. They are extremely crazy. Bai Mei Sanren, who was in the space cave, saw the reactions of the cultivators in the foggy area. He suddenly felt that they looked like madmen, very crazy and excited. I feel that it's already not easy for them to control their minds and communicate normally after living in the foggy area for so long. Night Sorrow smiled and transmitted his voice. In the eyes of the others, he was laughing because of the joy of victory. At this time, Chen Qingyun recalled and said, I remember at that time, I felt like someone had planted something in my mind. It was like an inner demon, but also like a curse. In any case, it was very difficult for him to completely control himself. That feeling was 10 times worse than drinking too much wine. It's very scary when I think about it. In the future, these crazy cultivators will definitely invade the Eternal Supreme's realm. I wonder how the Eternal Supreme's realm will be able to withstand them then. Night Sorrow was clearly worried when he saw everyone's reaction. At this time, Earth Supremes were still rare in the Eternal Supreme's realm, but Earth Supremes in the foggy area were simply everywhere. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. If a war broke out, the Eternal Supreme's realm was completely no match for the foggy area. The difference in strength between the two sides is indeed great. It makes people feel a trace of despair in their hearts. Bai Mei Sanren also felt a little uncomfortable. He thought of the experience in the past. He transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, Brother Night Sorrow, you are a genius. I sincerely hope that you can grow up quickly and lead the cultivators of the Eternal Supreme's realm through this difficult time. The tragedy of that incident in the past was really shocking. I would rather die again than go through it again. Don't worry, brother. Night Sorrow will do his best. But if the general trend is too strong, then there's nothing I can do. He would do his best and leave the rest to fate. This was Night Sorrow's attitude. He would not sit still and wait for death. It's a pity that the Eternal Supreme's realm's recovery time is too short and has not completely recovered. And the next great calamity is about to arrive. Bai Mei Sanren thought of the Eternal Supreme's realm's current strength and felt that there were many things that they could not rely on them for. At this time, Night Sorrow said, Everyone, do you know where to find a body that can be possessed by a peerless expert and have a chance to advance to the Supreme Realm? A body that can advance to the Supreme Realm. That must be the body of a Supreme Realm expert. Even if we can find it, we definitely can't get it. The three great experts in the foggy area all have such bodies, but we are no match for them at all. Chen Qingyun immediately responded when he heard Night Sorrow's words. What I mean is, other than them, are there any geniuses with enough potential in the foggy area? That is, geniuses that have not fully grown up. Night Sorrow did not know much about the foggy area and continued to ask. Geniuses are everywhere. But the peerless geniuses that you mentioned should be very hard to find. Chen Qingyun said, then shouted and said, if you want to find such geniuses, you can go to a place. That is Lu Tian Academy. Chapter 3098. Battle is fine. How much are you going to give me for my 72,000 blackthorn crystals? Night Sorrow asked, then shouted, the City Lord Mansion is unfair. You're greedy for my life and death money. I bet 50,000 in the previous battle, but I only got 72,000 blackthorn crystals after winning. This is too shady. Night Sorrow could overlook the fact that the receptionist had embezzled his 10,000 blackthorn crystals. However, if the receptionist continued to embezzle his money, that was something that he could not accept. Hence, he shouted it out in front of the audience. Bastard! What are you shouting for? How dare you accuse the City Lord Mansion? I'll teach you a lesson today. Although the cultivators in the foggy area had lost control of their minds, there was still basic order. Upon hearing Night Sorrow's shout, the receptionist's face turned cold as he scolded him. If such a thing was proven to be true, the City Lord Mansion would have no place to put their face. He would definitely be punished for this, and he would definitely not be able to keep his job as a receptionist. At this moment, the audience was shouting loudly. Betting 50,000 and winning the battle, if he really only got 72,000 blackthorn crystals, it was indeed too shady. Although this was the foggy area, there was no reason for this. As the audience and potential contestants, they were very unhappy. However, this was the property of the City Lord Mansion, and the City Lord was a heavenly sovereign. They could only shout in protest, and no one dared to stand out, afraid that the City Lord would be enraged and directly attack. After all, the foggy area was not a place that spoke of reason. It was a place where strength reigned supreme. I'll shout whatever is the truth. Seeing the receptionist's expression, Night Sorrow said disdainfully, but I won't talk nonsense with you. I can participate in the next battle, and I don't want any reward. However, I have a request, and that is to fight with you. Do you dare? To the receptionist's surprise, Night Sorrow did not continue to reason with him. Instead, he suddenly challenged him in front of everyone. In the foggy area, it was normal to challenge someone. At this moment, Night Sorrow only had the cultivation of a middle earthly sovereign, and he was challenging an upper earthly sovereign. If the receptionist didn't dare to accept it, the City Lord's mansion would definitely lose face. Moreover, the receptionist also felt that if he killed Night Sorrow directly, it would save him the trouble of spouting nonsense. Therefore, the receptionist sneered and said, since you are not afraid of death, then this receptionist doesn't mind having one more life in my hands. So you're saying that you've chosen to accept the challenge. Very good. Seeing that the receptionist had agreed, Night Sorrow continued, then let's go on stage immediately. Let's add an appetizer for the audience. If he left this place, the receptionist would definitely use some methods to deal with him. Night Sorrow did not want to delay any longer, so he directly flew to the arena. Looking towards number 19 and number 20 who were about to engage in a duel, he said, the two of you are also cultivators who have risked your lives for the blackthorn crystal, please give up your positions. Let me kill this bitch and seek justice for everyone. Good. Kill him. The two contestants in front of him were fugitives, but they also cared about the blackthorn crystal. Night Sorrow's challenge to them was beneficial to them, so they naturally chose to give up and return to the dark tunnel. They gave up the life and death arena to Night Sorrow. Come over here. Standing in the middle of the life and death arena, Night Sorrow looked at the receptionist and curled his finger in disdain. I am an upper earthly sovereign, why would I be afraid of an ant from the supreme realm? You dare to slander and provoke me, what awaits you is only the destruction of your soul. The receptionist, who had already been lifted up, naturally couldn't reject Night Sorrow's challenge in public. Because that would be a great disgrace to the City Lord's mansion. He roared and flew to the life and death arena. Good. Kill him. Kill him. The audience below the arena roared crazily. The frenzied and chaotic roars shook the life and death arena. As long as you dare to go on stage. I heard that there is a rule in the life and death arena. In this battle, all the items on the opponent will belong to the winner. Is that true? Night Sorrow looked at the receptionist and asked. This question was very invasive, and it made the receptionist very unhappy. The receptionist sneered and said, this is a rule set by the City Lord's mansion in the early years, and no one dares to violate it. That's good. You should still have my blackthorn crystal on you, right? After the battle, it will return to me. Night Sorrow roared and waved his black spear, shooting at the receptionist in front of him. The receptionist in front of him was basically in human form, but his face was extremely pale. His body was surrounded by black gas, and his evil aura was very strong. Seeing Night Sorrow shoot, he snorted and said, insignificant skill. Then, he took out a pitch-black long sword from his space paradise. This long sword was emitting a dark glow, giving people a chilling feeling of evilness. He used this long sword to block Night Sorrow's black spear. The receptionist sneered and said, is this all you have? Earthly sovereigns are really ants. Die, die, die. As the word die came out of his mouth, the long sword in the receptionist's hand suddenly turned into 3 clones, stabbing at Night Sorrow from 3 different directions. This kind of attack was actually very vulgar for an earthly sovereign. However, most of the cultivators in the foggy area relied on their strength, and they rarely relied on their skills. In the face of such an attack, Night Sorrow despised it, but he couldn't reveal too many tricks. Holding the black spear, he chose to fight head-on with his opponent. Boom! 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 3 explosive collisions sounded. Night Sorrow's black spear didn't retreat at all, and the receptionist's 3 long swords were all sent flying. Good! When the audience saw this scene, they immediately cheered. They were crazy about strength, and when they saw that a middle earthly sovereign could actually send an upper earthly sovereign's long sword flying, they immediately cheered even more fervently. Even ants have some strength. Not bad. You can withstand my attack for a while. But that's all. The long sword was sent flying, but the receptionist's face showed an evil smile. Then, he took out a rope from the space hollow. This rope must have originally been of other colors, but it had been eroded by the fog into a pure black color, and it was emitting a black light. After it was taken out, the receptionist silently chanted the incantation. Then, the rope suddenly turned into the appearance of a black python, and cooperated with the receptionist to fight Night Sorrow. Although the black python that the rope turned into was also at the level of an upper earthly sovereign, it was obviously stronger than the receptionist's strength. After it appeared, it crazily suppressed Night Sorrow. In the eyes of the audience, it seemed that Night Sorrow was powerless to resist. Many people were amazed by the power of the receptionist and the black python. Clan M, you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.